Pennsylvania. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Poppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Anything possible!
What's going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Good start to this next coming week. Hope you guys are doing well. And it's been a long time since I've been back here on the program, but I'm glad to be back here for tonight on Kicking with Kruse. I'm your host, as always, Ben Kruse. And, of course, we got a lot to get into for our show for tonight. But before we get started, make sure to follow, like, comment, and subscribe to my show as usual. Right here down the ticker spot right down here. You guys can follow us on the MI6 and the IM6 on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, feel free to follow my Twitter at Ben Kruse, all lowercase 144. You guys obviously can follow a lot of my stuff on Twitter. I post a lot of stuff sports related, every type of sport specifically. I put a lot of stuff over there. Also, too, if you guys want to comment throughout the show, I'll be glad enough to read your comments throughout the show. I'll, if not during the show, definitely at least at the end of the show, I'll glad to read your comments. Hopefully, we'll have some guests on tonight, like typical co-hosts. But if not, I'll definitely be riding this on my own. Definitely got a lot to talk about. So obviously, as you guys saw there, I put some breaking news in terms of the start here on the show. And the reason why is we got some late breaking news in the college basketball front. Of course, we're going to talk about the Final Four. We're going to talk about the national championship games. But before then, we got some massive news as long-term Kentucky head coach, Coach Calipari, has agreed to become the next head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, this is obviously a massive change. This is obviously a massive get for the Razorbacks. Of course, this is a coach that has been an absolute legend in the game. He obviously has been he's been pretty much letting that team down the last couple of years in terms of his overall success. When you look at Kentucky, they are classified as one of the best college programs in the nation, just in terms of the overall success and everything that's kind of ran through. So many great players around the league have been coming from Kentucky. So this is obviously massive. Now, in terms of the overall deal, I'm pretty sure it's around 4 or 5 years. Just bear with me really quick. Just give me a quick say. Yeah, 5-year deal after 15 years at Kentucky. And Coach Calipari's last season with the Kentucky Wildcats, it was in terms of an upset that happened in the first round of this year's March Madness tournament. They fell short to Oklahoma, who fell short in the second round of the tournament. But this obviously was I believe a 2-seed, 3-seed that came up short. And I really wasn't too high on this Kentucky team this year. Teams like Gonzaga, teams like Kansas, Kentucky. I really wasn't too high on these teams to go deep, kind of like in past years where you think a lot of those type of years that they go deep. Duke as well too. But like I said, this is obviously massive news for the Razorbacks. Is obviously massive news for college basketball because we didn't know if Coach Calipari would keep on coaching. There's been obviously a lot of speculation that he might retire. And he decided for himself that he is going to decide to coach. And, obviously for him specifically, I think this is good. this is a good spot for him, a good landing spot. And obviously now in terms of the next question is who's going to be the next coach for Kentucky? And there's been obviously some late rumors, tweets, and stuff going on after the announcement that Coach Calipari is going to be going to Arkansas. And one of the biggest names to be floating around is Alabama's coach, Nate Oates, who I thought specifically was absolutely incredible this year in the tournament. Of course, they were just in the Final Four against UConn, and they were one of the most toughest teams I think that UConn is going to be going throughout the tournament. I mean, they're really well. He's really well coached with that team this year. Alabama's a very good team, but Oates himself is a very good coach, and I think that if he went to Kentucky, obviously, he's going to be still in the SEC. So obviously, really wouldn't be a lot of change outside of just the team itself. But yeah, this is obviously massive news. And like I said, we'll get kind of more details down the road here in terms of the overall finances on it. But all we do know is that it is beneficial that long-term head coach from Kentucky after 15 seasons, Coach John Calipari, has agreed to become the next head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. A 5-year deal, and obviously massive news. So staying though with college basketball, obviously the college basketball season is coming to a close. And, I know that's obviously bittersweet. Obviously today the women's had their finish off to their season. And I will say this about women's basketball is I think there's so many people now that have came to appreciate how good college basketball is, specifically now from the women's side, because obviously in a very men's heavy, I guess you can say sports atmosphere, basketball specific. Of course, women's basketball is big, but if you look at nationally, right, men specifically kind of gets more of the recognition than the women's do. But you're seeing teams, obviously, of course, UConn women basketball, of course, ran. They were the standard for a long time, of course, under head coach Gino Auriemma. But I kind of knew over time that you look at really good other college women's programs like Stanford, South Carolina, Iowa, right? There's a lot of other good programs that I think that were just getting better and better. And UConn obviously still a solid program in women's basketball. Of course, they're still solid, but they're not, of course, the runaway favorites anymore, like they used to be. I mean, they used to just steamroll other teams. And of course, there were some really good teams that they played, obviously, when they're really, really good. But you look at like the Maya Moore days, the Brianna Stewart days, right? Those were just absolute wagon of teams that UConn had. Now, obviously, they still got really, really good players. They actually just got the 2024 top recruit in women's basketball. I think her name's Sarah Strawn. Give me a sec. I'm pretty sure that's her name. Yeah, Sarah Strawn. So she's going to be committed to UConn next year. And yeah, I mean, just today, the Iowa South Carolina game, of course, went back and forth. Iowa obviously had a really good start to the game. And obviously, the biggest story about women's basketball that I think everybody's been kind of glaring about this year, and deservedly so, has been Caitlin Clark. Obviously, Caitlin Clark, for those that don't know her, she, of course, was an absolute phenom in college basketball for pretty much this season, the last couple of years' seasons. And she's not only just a phenom, she's just an overall off-the-person. She's in a lot of sponsorships now, just everything specific. And I think the really cool thing about Caitlin is she's just like taking in the whole entire spotlight, right? Just like, I know that there's obviously a lot of athletes, young athletes specifically, just like, they get all this cockiness here and there. And like, she obviously has that a little bit, but like deservedly, like she's one of the best women's basketball players that will ever go down the game. Now, obviously she didn't win a ring, and obviously you can kind of say that, but the thing about Caitlin Clark is she's just overall just how incredible she is. Just as a passer, of course, her shooting ability is absolutely incredible. But I think a lot of people don't understand how good of a passer Caitlin Clark is. So as it looks like we have my other co-host, James Gonzalez. James, hopefully you're having a good afternoon. Not good afternoon, good day. Sorry. My mind's pretty much all over the place right now. And James, obviously, we'll talk about our Red Sox Angels series from this weekend a little bit down the show. But James, how are you doing, my friend? And obviously, before you came on, of course, we're kind of starting off with the Final Four stuff this weekend. Of course, kind of recapping a little bit of the women's basketball final from today, and just kind of overall, just pretty much like the women's basketball is kind of starting to kind of get up on the upswing because of just how like men's heavy it's been for so long. So I'll talk a little bit about that with you. But how are you doing, first of all, my friend? And hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just tired as hell. I went to both Angel games. I'm sorry, Friday and Saturday, and it was sold out. I didn't go to today's, but I was down in San Diego, so I did a lot of like travel, a lot of stuff this weekend, and I'm just done. But yeah, I didn't get to see any of the the basketball action, but I could see I could see what happened though. With all three games, like I could kind of tell what happened.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I didn't watch every single possession of the Iowa South Carolina game today, but like I was mentioned, of course, I think pretty much everybody at this point in time knows the name Caitlin Clark. I mean, if you haven't been, of course, my mom asked about it today, and my dad was joking with her saying, I'm shocked because, of course, like her name's obviously been kind of like all over ESPN, on the radio, on the news, right? So, but it's obviously deserved, right? Obviously, as a UConn fan, of course, they came a little bit short against their team in the Final Four. Obviously, I don't have to talk about the offensive foul that happened on Edwards at the end of that game, but obviously it sucked. It was ticky-tack, but I just also don't think that they're going to be that South Carolina team. I know no matter how it's going to be the case. I mean, they were just so dominant. They went 37-0. I would have, of course, loved to see them in the final and see in terms of how they would do against them. But I think it also was kind of cool to see. I suppose it was painful for UConn to lose. To see Caitlin Clark at least have one more chance to get a championship under her before she is moving on to the WNBA. But regardless of the fact, I mean, obviously, James, I don't know how much women's basketball you watched this year, but it was funny enough when I got to work today, and I was obviously in my car, obviously my way back home from work. There was some people that I listened to that were kind of talking about the madness today. Pretty much were saying that they really feel like the women's basketball this year has been a lot more appealing to them than the men's. And I thought, obviously, I, of course, have been in time with the men's because I'm a UConn fan, right? Obviously, that's obviously massive. They're obviously an absolute juggernaut right now. We'll talk about the matchup in a little bit. But, if you're not a fan of like any of these teams, it's just overall from a fan perspective. The women's obviously had a lot of great teams this year, a lot of great talent and players. You look at LSU, obviously, against Iowa. Obviously, that was like, in terms of ratings, that was like some of the best rated basketball in a long time, with women specific. And of course, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, obviously a little bit of that rivalry feud, even though it's not really a rivalry, of course. But obviously, the media made it kind of out to be last year. Paige Becker's out with UConn, Caitlin Clark, obviously, with Iowa. So it's like the women's side really, I think, is starting to kind of take its next step, which I think is deservedly so, because I think that for so long, and I was mentioning about it, as much as I loved UConn being kind of the kings of women's basketball for so long, it was kind of nice for like the league to kind of just start getting a lot better, because like I always hated like people saying like we didn't play anybody, right? And that's obviously now like where UConn's good, right? But obviously like it's kind of nice to kind of see some of these other teams get a lot better, and now you obviously have a star that a lot of like young girls look up to and stuff like that. I don't know. I just think it was kind of cool to see, kind of see just overall Caitlin Clark obviously doing her thing for so long there. And like I said, I wish her the best of luck. She's going to be obviously the number one pick in the WNBA draft this upcoming year, and she's actually be playing in Connecticut because obviously the Connecticut Sun are in Connecticut. And obviously, they're going to be playing the Sun and the Fever, of course, which I think is going to be the team she's going to be drafted by. The tickets are, I think, going to be already like $500, $600 from pretty much from what I've been hearing already. This is already for next season. So this is pretty much in terms like how big of an overall star she is, of course, not only in basketball, just around the league. So it's really cool to kind of see that overall. And like I said before I go to, just congratulations on South Carolina and Dawn Staley for winning another Natty. I mean, obviously they're going to be one of the best college teams for a long time. And It was a good game today, but I also think that South Carolina kind of really put it to them in that second half. So, what do you think? Obviously, like you said, I know you don't really watch it, but just overall, the college field, the men's and women's, kind of the tourney this year, kind of the overall, how you felt about it.
Okay. The women's tournament, I think I've watched more than I did before, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
because of Caitlin Clark, because of South Carolina, because of LSU. So with all three of those teams, and of course UConn, I wanted to see if they can get, back to the top. But, I guess they didn't have enough. And they couldn't stop
Yeah,
Clark or
they're
whatever. And then
shorthanded too a lot this year. A lot of their players. That's the thing about this team for UConn, the women's, where they were able to get to the Final Four, James, with essentially I mean, obviously Page, of course, was massive, but a shorthanded team. They essentially
yeah,
had some of their best players being out for a long time, and I just didn't know specifically if it was enough. I think maybe with the tournament kind of coming out, I was like maybe Elite Eight at the best, but they got through USC, and I'm like they got to the Final Four. I mean, obviously that's just another thing for Gino, of course, to accomplish. But they were in it. They were in it for a chance at that championship, and they came a little bit short. But yeah, I mean, like you said, obviously it wasn't meant to be, and Iowa obviously deserved a little bit more. They just played a little bit better than we did, but it's what it is.
yeah, okay. And then the drama around LSU, with Kim Mulkey as a head coach, and then Angel Reese not really getting along with her all year long. Remember, there was a point, I think, in October or November, she wasn't around the team because of personal reasons. And then she, when Reese announced that she was leaving, she didn't thank her head coach. So you could tell there's real drama there. And then you could tell they never really got along on the court when they were talking about strategy. I mean, I was really watching the Iowa Connecticut game. I'm sorry, Iowa and LSU. I was just looking for that. And then there's reports, I think, either after the game from, I think, the Washington Post or the LA Times about how the head coach has, like, issues with their players being lesbian and just stuff she would say or do. I just wonder how all that's going to go at LSU. That added a little drama to this tournament, not only with Clark, but then you have South Carolina just kind of be like a machine, kind of. It's almost like UConn men's basketball. I kind of compared the two. I was like, no one's going to beat them. They have too much of a team. Like other teams are so individual. But when it comes to UConn men's and the South Carolina women's, they just have a whole team that you can't really beat. And then you have coaches that really care, that keep everybody in line. Like you see Staley keep her players in line. And then I love last week hearing about Dan Hurley. And I think he was on the McAfee show, and they were interviewing him and all the things he went through in his life. Like depression and whatever happened, and then now, he's using it to fuel the players. And I always remember this one video. It was from a couple of weeks ago, I think, and everybody is literally doing the same drill at UConn. It's amazing to see. Like everybody's doing this dribble drill, putting the ball around their waist or whatever. Everyone's doing it. It's amazing, like how much everybody is in sync on that UConn men's team. So yeah, shout out to Staley and the Gamecock women winning the championship. You kind of knew they would. They went undefeated, so they were amazing.
Crazy.
Now, looking at the men, I didn't watch Saturday, but I figured, both games would be, easy wins for the favorite teams. But I heard, what was it? Alabama actually gave UConn a game. Alabama, I guess, plays really tough. They do play really tough. They rebound inside. They make you work for buckets, and then UConn pulled away.
Mm-hmm.
as I mentioned, UConn, they kind of remind me of the '92 Dream Team, where they're just much for everyone. They win by easy amounts. And then Purdue, NC State, you kind of knew, okay, this is the last for NC State. They won, 9 consecutive elimination games to even get to the Final Four?
It was impressive, yeah.
It's amazing because nobody knew who DJ Burns Jr. is. Nobody knew who that was until the tournament. And you saw this big dude just like do all these, fun footwork moves and spin moves and all that. That was great to see. But eventually, the cream rises to the top. You got Edie versus UConn. How that whole remember that not remember, but I don't know if you ever seen that picture of the old Madison Square Garden in the 50s, and it says Mikan versus the Knicks.
Yep.
He was a Minneapolis Laker at the time, and it reminds me of like Edie versus UConn.
Well, that's but yeah.
I'm trying to remember who is number 32 on UConn, their main scorer, or
so Donovan Clinton. He's from Connecticut. He was just from Bristol.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So it's like his dream specific. Of course, he's his center. He's going to go against Edie, which I think if you look at it, it's kind of interesting because Edie's he's like 7'4", 7'5". He obviously has a very good hook shot. Obviously, if you're 7'4", of course you need to have a good one. I think Clinton's a little bit more athletic than Edie is. I think that Edie just kind of uses his overall size to just his advantage. But the thing about Clinton, which is so fascinating, is like his just overall, he can go against guards. Like his movement specific without fouling has been incredible this tournament. And obviously he had that struggle last year in the tournament when, of course, he was backing up to Sanogo. But this year, like his overall game is just took it to another level. And that's obviously why scouts from the NBA and stuff like that pretty much are seeing this guy as a very medium to I don't know about high first round pick, but he's going to definitely he's getting up there in terms of the overall numbers on the draft board because he's been obviously incredible. Of course, it's a little biased to me, but still, I mean his game obviously has been incredible. Edie obviously is very good. Don't get me wrong; he's been averaging around 20 points, 24 points per game. But obviously, James, as we get into this overall game here, as of course kind of mentioned already, the tail of the tape really is it's a heavyweight battle. You got the two best teams essentially from the beginning of the tournament. Now it's the end, right? And obviously, I wasn't a big believer in this Purdue team. We first met it, right? Because obviously, you look in the past. Of course, they got upset by the 16th seed last year. Farley Dickinson. I didn't think that, of course, that was going to happen again to them. But I think that they're, thinking maybe they get pulled away in like the Elite Eight possibly, and they found a way. They got some really good talent over there. Obviously, outside of Edie, they got some guys that can shoot. The thing about UConn too, James, and you're talking about Alabama being tough. They're probably the best 3-point shooting team that UConn will face this year. Mark Sears, obviously, he gives me the Jalen Brunson vibes for that Alabama team. I mean, he was obviously a great outside shooter, but just his overall toughness. And Alabama, too, they were a team that would go right at Clinton. I mean, there's a lot of teams that don't want to. I mean, the Illinois, obviously in Elite Eight, they're apparently their game plan was go right at Clinton, which was absolutely just dumbfounding because he was just blocking left and right. And obviously, there's a massive part to that 30-0 run. But, yeah, it's going to be a really good game. And obviously, I'll kind of get your overall thoughts about it and kind of in terms of who wins and stuff like that. But like you're mentioning with UConn, in terms of overall balance, right? Well, that's obviously Purdue. The thing about UConn, James, is they're obviously going to have essentially their starting five is pretty much going to be all NBA draft prospects probably in the next couple of years, if not. You obviously have Clinton. You have Stephon Castle, who's only a freshman, but he's probably going to go pro next year. Stephon Castle is absolutely incredible. And if you get to watch the game tomorrow, I mean, I saw this guy specifically in person, when I was at the Sweet 16 against Northwestern. And he goes against the best ball guys dominant left and right. And he's just been absolutely just been on lock for a lot of these guys. And the thing about UConn too, James, and obviously Castle, obviously a big guy. Cam Spencer obviously was a transfer last year from Rutgers. And he, of course, is a three-point shooter. But he also can take it to the rim. He's the energizer guy that everybody hates because he talks so much shit. It's just incredible. And then you have Alex Caravan, of course, a spot shooter last year, very underrated defense. Obviously, Caravan's obviously a massive part to their team from last year that's coming back this year. So he's going to play big tomorrow. And then obviously Tristan Newton, All-American guard from El Paso, Texas. And Tristan, obviously, he's had his struggles the last couple of games, but Tristan obviously is hopeful to repeat as a national champ. Of course, he was on that team last year. So between some of their guys that they have from last year back here this year, between this, the overall, the Dan Hurley effect of we're not satisfied, and just that's what they were saying the other night against Alabama after the game. We're not satisfied. We want to, of course, get there and win this thing. Obviously, Purdue kind of has the same feeling, but Purdue has not won a national championship. They've played in couple, they haven't won. And the thing really is the reason why I have UConn in this game, James, because one, I just think that the way to beat UConn physically is you have to either outshoot them from three consistently, and that still might not be enough. That's how crazy it's been. I think Alabama went 8 for 11 yesterday from three in the first half, and UConn was up by 4. If you told me that UConn would give up 8-11 from three, they'd probably be down to half. Nope. They just keep on fighting, like you mentioned. I don't know if they're going to be the dream team. I mean, that's obviously great praise, but they just play as a group. They play as a unit. And the thing about, I think, Purdue is just like, yeah, you rely on Edey, right? Of course, he's great. But the supporting cast, I don't know if I trust the Purdue supporting cast along with the UConn supporting cast. I know for a fact what I'm going to get at the supporting cast from UConn. They're just so balanced, James, and that's why I have UConn win this game. Like I said, it's going to be close. I think the line right now is like 5.5, 6 points. But I don't know. I feel like I was more worried about the Alabama team just because they just have so much speed. I think there's going to be more of the down low presence, and I think that favors UConn because it's like, all right, we'll give you specifically the points down low. It's about can stay out of foul trouble, and it's all the other guys around Purdue specifically can make their shots consistently. And the thing about UConn too is they'll suffocate you right in the second half, right? They'll kind of – it's almost just like, we'll kind of be in this little like track meet, right, for a good, 35, maybe like 25, 30 minutes. And then boom, that last 10 minutes, no chance. We're going to suffocate you defensively, and we're going to pull this game out. And that's what they did the other night. That's really what they do. So it's been impressive. And I'm excited for it tomorrow. I'm obviously nervous, but, hopefully we repeat it as Natty champ. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, for me, I was thinking about the old ways of like how college basketball used to be again with no three in the key.
Mm-hmm.
He just could stay in there forever. And then, when he's on defense, I would have him, try to guard the pick and roll, just kick it out for threes if I'm UConn. That's how I would beat Purdue offensively. But if I'm UConn defensively, do you think they'll just have a rover on Edey just to be there either to strip the ball away or try to defend the pass really hard? Because I was watching the games with Purdue, and it just seems like everything goes through Edey, right? Where they just throw it up to him, and nobody can grab it or whatever. And I just hope he brings it down, so people can get in there and, try to swipe at it or whatever. I just wonder how much doubling you'll see UConn do on Edey. That's all I have. I think UConn wins still. Again, I think they just have a complete team. But do you think UConn is going to double Edey, like every play?
No, I wouldn't. I think personally they're going to kind of play man on first, kind of see in terms of how they feel. Because the thing is, they want to limit specifically the guys, the surrounding court cast that beat them more. I think that's kind of – it's almost like when you look at like football matchups, right? It's like, all right, that one guy specifically, for a fact like he's going to get his overall thing. Like he's going to obviously get his overall points, his first downs here and there. But if we can get the other guys to be – not effective or very ineffective, we feel pretty good about our chances, right? Obviously Alabama the other night, obviously they have a lot of guys that can shoot the three. And I told myself specifically at halftime, I'm like, hopefully in the second half, because I know that Caravan and a couple other guys after the game, they're just like, we just did not defend the three great in the first half. Of course, they were, of course, making shots, but the biggest reason why Alabama was really in that game that first half was they had a couple second chance points that turned into threes. And, I thought our first half, James, I think they've been okay. They haven't been great. It's really been the second halves that, they turn up in the second half. They're a second half team, and it's been pretty much clear. Whether it's a 30-0 run against Illinois, whether it's crazy to think they're winning games by double figures. There has not been a game yet in this tournament, at least I don't think, within the last 3-4 games that they have not won by double figures. And Alabama was in that game for practically most of the game, and they still found a way to win by like 10, 12 points, which is crazy.
That's why I say the dream team. That's why, because the dream team, the Olympics, I've seen the results from those, where only the gold medal game, it was only like a 12 or 14 point win, but everything else was like 20, 30, 40, 50 point win. That's what it feels like with UConn, I swear.
So, yeah, I know you're asking me about Edey, like I said. I think they're probably going to man up on him. I do think they will double him throughout the game, but I don't think that they're going to do it consistently enough, because Edey's obviously a very good passer, of course, 7'4", 7'5". He obviously has probably been used to at this point in time, teams trying to double team him. But Hurley's such a great coach in a way of like game planning where, it's like, all right, he'll of course get his. But I'm looking at specifically, right? They have a couple guys that I'm looking at. Lance Jones, obviously, guard. He averages 12 points a game. He's him, Fletcher Lawyer, obviously. Lawyer, he's a decent-sized three-point shooter, but that's pretty much his game. He's kind of more undermanned, though. I feel like specifically that the guards for UConn are better than these guards from Purdue. I think that the guards for Purdue are good, but I take the advantage on the UConn guards. And I think that's an advantage, too, specifically why I have them 1-2, because I think that Edey will probably have a better game than Clinton. I do, but I think it will come down to – and the thing is, James, too, is UConn has not had a great tournament from behind the arc. But the last game, they started to kind of hit some more of their threes, which is really good. So that's obviously good. Now, the thing is, I'm just looking at specifically, I don't know. I can't really kind of judge them from last game in terms of how they played, because 11th ranked NC State, it's like, all right, they won by 13 points. In the first half, it was 35-29. They only had 28 points in the second half. They had 63 points against NC State total. So, 63 points. Think that's going to cut against this UConn team, James, by the championship? I don't. I think that UConn specifically, when you look at it, and that's the thing that's so great about this UConn team, that they can beat you in so many different ways. If you want to play a track meet game, all right, we'll do that. If you want to play specifically your own term game, the thing is, you're not going to be able to play your own terms against UConn unless you physically break that UConn team down. And there's nobody on this UConn team, at least to me, that you can break down. It's almost like a wall specifically that you're trying to punch multiple times. After multiple times, it's just like, all right, I can't do this. It's like, I'm not going to be able to crack that code. That's the UConn team specifically. And this is not me just being a homer, biased UConn, Connecticut resident. I'm like, no, this is just like, I'm looking at this team. And people would tell me, oh, here and there. I had a buddy of mine last year, of course, and, we kind of have our fun banter here and there. It's like, well, it's a great path, but you guys don't really play anybody. I'm like, well, this year, how about this? They're a number one seed, and they had to go still all the way through to get to the Final Four. Back-to-back years to the Final Four, that's very hard to do. And they have a chance specifically to be the national champs back-to-back years, the first time since the 2007 Florida team. So, like I said, it's going to be a really fun one tomorrow. Obviously, if we win, right, I'm going to be celebrating. I can't obviously celebrate too much because I'm going to Fenway Park on Tuesday for the home opener for the Red Sox, which I'm very excited about as well. And if we lose, I'll be upset. But the Purdue's a good team. They're the number one ranked team as well too. So, like I said, it's obviously going to be, these two teams, of course, deserve to be here. And yes, this is obviously going to be a really good one. So like I said, we kind of recapped these overall games. We kind of did a little bit of the preview We obviously both had UConn as the national champs come tomorrow night. Is there anything else, James, you want to talk about in terms of this game before we move on to? I did obviously get to some of the John Calipari stuff. I'm really quickly before we get to baseball. Do you get to see the breaking news, by the way?
Yeah, no, what's his name told me about it, that idiot. That, hey, Arkansas is in talks, serious talks with Calipari. And me and him were talking about it. Like, I think he mentioned, I sent him some stuff, he sent me some stuff, and it just came down to the AD at Connecticut at Kentucky to say, do we want to continue to be mediocre, or do we want to move in a different direction and try to get better with the NIL stuff and try to recruit better? Because it seems like Calipari's, I guess, run is over there. What is it? The last 5 years, it's been one first round or second round, and that's it really for him. So maybe it's just everything comes to an end. I mean, you know that with Belichick, eventually everything ends, like the great runs. And but to Arkansas, what? What? I'm like, wait. Okay, maybe it's the NBA. Maybe it's the NBA. I'm like, where did you say it? Speak up. Where did you say again? That's a football. Well, that used to be a football school. Yeah. I'm like, what? Be paying him like acres, like Nick Saban got paid with Alabama to coach Arkansas basketball. Who did they? I can't remember last time they really had a notable team. Like, I know in like the 90s they had a notable team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't look at Arkansas basketball as just like big time school. I think it's good for the SEC though that they can have Calipari around. But like you mentioned, it's just the fit. I mean, and I guess specifically like you were saying, I read the same thing too. That Tyson family, who was like partly big time at Arkansas, I guess there was some connection there. Calipari and Tyson had some connection there, so I think that there might have been some reason to disagreement. But yeah, still really
Wait. What Tyson are we talking about? The chicken company people?
No, so the Tyson family who give me a sec. All right. The Tyson family, who's the biggest Arkansas donor, according to Matt Warlander, who is in terms of on Twitter, he's a college basketball podcast analyst host for Sports Illustrated and CBS Sports. So,
wow,
I trust his overall his stuff there. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why he decided to go to Arkansas, is because there's connection to one of the biggest donors at Arkansas, and I guess that had a very good relationship there. So yeah, congrats to him, Coach Calipari. For those, like I said, for those that did not know about that, that came breaking about 30 minutes ago, according to multiple reports, and he is going to have a 5-year deal over at Arkansas for that. So congrats to him. Nate Oates obviously looks like he might be a reported favorite to possibly take over Coach Cal's spot at Kentucky. Of course, Nate Oates was just coaching Alabama against UConn in the Final Four, but time will tell about that. So best of luck to both teams tomorrow in the national championship. Like I said, obviously I'm rooting for UConn. Go Huskies. And fortunate enough, actually, we got one of our co-hosts that has talked highly about Coach Calipari. Speaking of him, we got him on the program at least for a little while. Isaiah, my friend, I know that you're probably obviously really busy right now, but I do appreciate you coming on and talking with me and James for a little bit. So without further ado, Isaiah, how are you doing, my friend? And, any news specifically in terms of the Final Four stuff from this past weekend, of course, the Coach Calipari news. And obviously, if you want to give us like quick stuff in baseball, if you obviously only have time to kind of keep on your hands, feel free to also say that as well. But thanks for coming on at least a little bit, and how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm walking for my lunch right now, and man, oh man, this is honestly like one of those like holy bleep moments in sports, man. I mean, it's absolutely insane that this news dropped. Like when John Calipari when we got the news that John Calipari was returning to Kentucky, I was like, oh crap, man, Kentucky basketball is gonna be mediocre. But now I think the people in Lexington, Ben and James, are parading down the street and, celebrating because John Calipari is a fraud. John Calipari is like one of the most overrated coaches in college basketball. I think I said this after they lost to Oakland. You guys remember Lane Kiffin, right? Remember when Lane Kiffin got fired by USC and
I don't
USC
want to
didn't even
remember.
you remember when USC didn't even let Lane Kiffin fly back to Los Angeles and they just fired him on the tarmac? They brought him to the airport and they fired him on the tarmac before he got on the plane.
In
I said that
Phoenix.
John Calipari should have gotten fired on the tarmac too, because like you bring in all these NBA talent, right? Shaquille Alexander, Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns, John Wall, Anthony Davis, and you've been there 15 years with one championship. I mean, this dude is even worse than Doc Rivers, to say the least. So, for Kentucky, this is great news. And for us sports fans, this is obviously a massive bombshell that's going to have like major effects throughout college basketball. It's just crazy that, I thought like, okay, if he leaves, I thought, okay, it's going to be to the NBA. Like, I thought my poor Lakers, Ben and James, would hire John Calipari. Like, I was dreading it. Because I know the Lakers always want those star coaches, but for him to jump for another college program, and Arkansas is not really like a basketball school. Like their basketball programs not really like well known in college basketball. Like they're decent. That's why I'm shocked. I'm not shocked that he's leaving because I think he should have. It was time for him to go, but I'm shocked that he's gone to Arkansas. Like that's just what blows my mind about this whole ordeal is that he's going to Arkansas. Like if he went to Michigan, fine, I would understand. If he went somewhere else, like I would understand it. But you're going to Arkansas, like really? Like that just shows me, Ben and James, that I think the reason why John Calipari is leaving Kentucky is because, and I think me and James, we talked about this on a show before John Calipari had this ultra important meeting with the athletic director to determine his future. And that was the athletic director was going to present a plan to John Calipari stating that John Calipari, they were going to hire someone else above John Calipari to govern John Calipari and to basically oversee the basketball operations department. And I think John Calipari was like, the hell with that. I'm leaving because he's used to having all the power like Coach K and Jim Boeheim, Roy Williams, all the great college coaches. He's had all this great power. And I think he was in that meeting, I think he was given either an ultimatum saying, next year, if you don't win a championship, you're going to be fired. He's going to be a lame duck. Or they were going to hire someone to basically govern him. I think that's why he's leaving. I think that he didn't want to leave. But the university basically put out an ultimatum saying, hey, you don't win it next year, then you're going to be fired. And I think that like he sees going somewhere else as like, they're going to pay me the most money. Arkansas desperately wants their basketball team to win and be very, very relevant in college basketball. They're going to give me all the power in this world. I just think it's a money and a power grab by John Calipari. But I mean, good. Wow. I mean, I still can't believe that he's actually like leaving Kentucky for another school like Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm shocked that he's going to another school in general because a lot of people thought he was retired after his long tenure over Kentucky, but I guess we were wrong about it. So, Isaiah, really quickly too, any thoughts overall in terms of looking at this game for tonight between Purdue and UConn? This is obviously the biggest moment of my sports fandom. Kind of with you in terms of the Super Bowl with your Niners against the Chiefs, but obviously this is going to make or break me for a lot of this week. Of course, we're trying to repeat as national champions. And and obviously we're probably going to be the favorite, but Purdue's a really tough team. So any thoughts about that? And then obviously any thoughts about potentially the other games that you maybe watched or not. So what's your overall thoughts about that? And then we'll go to some baseball stuff. So I can ask you really quickly about some baseball stuff if you have to go quickly after.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, it's great to be on the show with you guys, even though I can only make like a small appearance because, I'm at work right now and I'm on my lunch break. But in terms of the UConn Purdue game, I'm definitely looking forward to it just because, look, Purdue, I think, is a team that can really threaten UConn with their size and the big man in the middle with Zach Edey. So I think that he poses a problem to UConn, but the problem is outside of Edey, it's like Iowa with Caitlin Clark. You have one great player, and the other players around him are just like they're just so mid role players, and that's why Iowa lost today. It's because it was Caitlin Clark, and then everybody else just didn't show up. I think South Carolina's bench outscored UConn like 47-2 or something like that. Like it was something just incredibly.
They didn't score on the bench at all. Iowa today in the national championship for women's was crazy.
Yeah. So I just think that for UConn, they're the better team, and we've seen in March Madness that if you're the better team, you're going to ultimately win because you have more weapons, you have more players that can hurt the other team. So it's really going to depend on if the players around Edey, if they can step up. If they can, then I think that Purdue has a chance. But if it's just Edey, because Edey's going to get doubled, he's going to get triple teamed if the other players aren't going to show up. So if it's just Edey, then I think that game will be similar to what it was last year between UConn and San Diego State, in which UConn is going to blow them out. So it's going to be a great game for sure. I can't wait. Ben, I really, really hope that your UConn Huskies don't be like my Niners and just kind of take it for granted in a way where you just look at it on paper that you're the better team. You should win, but they've got a really great once in a generational type player. So I think if you're UConn, just don't even think about you're the better team. Just go out and play the way you do, and that should take care of it.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be a good one. Going to be a heavyweight battle that I think a lot of people were looking forward to. So we'll talk about that. Hopefully later on in the week, of course, with the Huskies repeating, but we'll see about that. All right. Really quickly, obviously, since we still have you guys there, at least for the time being, let's go to baseball, right? And we'll obviously do our team reports since we still have you. So, of course, James, our teams face each other, and me and Isaiah's teams face each other through this week. So it's actually a perfect type of show that we could kind of both have us on, because there's not many times that highly happens that both of our teams kind of go back to back, at least for the Red Sox. So Isaiah, we'll take it you really quick first, because I know that you're kind of more running on time. Then I'll get to James after. So obviously with the A's, they took 2 out of 3 from the Tigers, right? How about that? Zach Geloff getting a home run today. And yeah, how about those A's taking 2 out of 3 from Detroit? Obviously, the Tigers were actually one of the teams that was kind of coming red hot. The Phillies, I don't really know much about right now. I know obviously they've kind of been up and down. So I'll take it to you, my friend Isaiah. How are you feeling about your teams right now, and just your overall thoughts of the season? Of course, we kind of talked about it last week when you're coming back from the Coliseum. So
yeah, I mean, so. The thing with the A's, right? Like, listen, I'm proud of the A's because they could have easily mailed it in after getting swept by Boston and losing the last game in just ultra brutal fashion, especially offensively, the way that they did. They could have easily mailed it in, but they didn't. They just, went into Detroit and they took 2 out of 3 from a Tigers team that was one of the best teams in the American League with how they're starting. So, and especially with the first game, it just didn't look good, but they won the last 2 games. The pitching is the big deal for why the A's took 2 out of 3. Paul Blackburn was tremendous on Saturday. Joe Boyle was pretty solid today. And then the bullpen did their thing. For the A's. But then the offense, they finally stepped up. Brent Rooker looks like he's getting hot. He had a home run in that game. He's ever since he got his first hit against the Red Sox on I believe it was on Wednesday or on Thursday. It looked like it really ignited him and woke him up because he's gotten a hit at least in every game thus far after that game. So he got it. He had a really good game in that second game as well. Zach Geloff with a career high 4-hit game today, including a homer and 4 RBIs. I mean, he definitely was the A's offense today. He was tremendous. And then, you look up and down the lineup, Ryan Noda was decent. Abraham Toro looks like he's snapped out of his little slump. Even Nick Allen had a hit today, for goodness sakes. Even though, I mean, the guy can't bunt a ball, but somehow finds a way to get a hit. And then, so the A's, offensively, it looks like they found something at least, which is good because they weren't hitting the first 6-7 games of the season. Pitching has been pretty solid, which I'm pretty surprised by. And I'm going to keep saying his name. And James is going to get tired of me saying this guy's name. But how many times can I say the phrase, Mason Miller is the truth? Because dude is
really good.
He is. I mean, he pitched against Detroit on Saturday. He pitched 2 innings, 8th and the 9th, and he struck out 5 of the 6 batters that he faced, throwing 100+ fastballs, like every pitch that this dude was on. He wasn't going by, I think the lowest pitch that he threw was a fastball at 99 miles an hour. Dude was painting 101, 102, 103. He reminded me of a right-handed Aroldis Chapman. He was just painting it left and right and getting swings and misses. And when he wasn't throwing the fastball, he was throwing the slider down and away. So, I mean, that guy is going to be an all-star. He's going to be one of the best relievers in baseball this season. I hope the A's honestly keep him as a reliever because I feel like if you put him as a starter, I feel like his stuff is not going to be as crisp as it is out of the bullpen, and you really want to save his arm. So I hope they keep him in the bullpen because if you do, you're getting one hell of a closer out of the bullpen. And yeah, I mean, this kid's going to be tremendous. And I know I need to take a step back because I know on our post-game show, Ben and James, that when we did our Red Sox A's post-game show, I know I was saying that I was comparing Mason Miller to guys like Mariano Rivera and Trevor Hoffman and Kerry Wood, and I think I even said
slow your roll.
I think I even said he was Craig Kimbrough in his prime as well, which he could be, but unfortunately he has yet to record a save. So hopefully he gets that soon. But yeah, I mean, the A's, very impressive stuff. They play the Texas Rangers starting, I think, on Monday. So it's going to be on Tuesday for a 3-game series.
Who are you going for in that game?
What's that?
Who are you going for in that game? I'm sorry, I had to.
Can I go for a tie, to be honest?
I mean, how about this? Pull for the A's to be competitive, which they actually surprisingly have been to start the year. And then Texas to, of course, do their Texas things. How about that?
Hey, I just hope Texas beats the Astros on Monday.
And think about this, Isaiah. If you told me, and James, you can chime in about this too. And I just checked when you were talking, Isaiah. If you told me the Houston Astros and the Oakland A's would be the same record, I know it's early, but they'd be the same record right now. What do you guys think?
Let me go first, Isaiah, because I just think those 4 injured starters for the Astros are hurting them. And first of all, they ran into the hot Yankee team that started off, and Soto and Volpe, I think, doing well. Is that the young guy, Volpe or Torres? No,
yeah.
It's Volpe.
Volpe.
Volpe and Torres, yeah. They're both really good.
Yeah, I guess both of them are doing well. So they just ran into them. You get a no-hitter, then you lose the next day. Your closer, Hader, has not been as dependable as well. And if you recall, he will not pitch more than an inning in any appearance, by the way. So I think it's a combination of that. And then with the A's, it's just like whatever happens, happens. If we win, cool. If not, it's okay. And then the one thing I worry about Mason Miller is he's just a Tommy John surgery waiting to happen. Anyone who throws that hard that much. It's just bound. I hope it doesn't happen, but it's just eventual that it will happen. I hope not, though.
We've seen a lot of pitchers. Have you guys seen a lot of starting pitchers? Sorry to
Yes.
interrupt, Isaiah. But there's been so many pitchers so far, whether it's Shane McClanahan or Garrett Cole or obviously Spencer Strider, of course, is the latest one. Guys specifically having arm injuries. And I don't know if it's specifically the pitch clock or something else, but this is absolutely incredible. I mean, in terms of just, obviously, I hate to see injuries, but incredible in terms of seeing all these guys out getting hurt. And you look at Kevin Gausman, for instance. I was watching him start against the Yankees this Saturday here, and he was topping at 88, 89 on his fastball. That shouldn't happen. I'm just like, this guy, don't tell me this guy's now hurt. So it's crazy. Also, really quickly, Isaiah, before we get to the Phillies, I want to get your reactions of the A's moving to Sacramento.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely heartbreaking. It was a gut punch. I know I worked on Wednesday, I believe, and I saw the news on Thursday, and I was definitely like incredibly devastated. It was just a difficult day, just because like the thing is, like, if you have worked for a team, you work for a stadium, like, yeah, the team leaving, it sucks because you're definitely attached to it. But for me, it was on a whole different level, just because I worked for them for 7+ years. I've been through the great ups and the downs, great memories, great seasons, bad years. And just to have it like taken away forcibly from me, it was just incredibly difficult, and it's definitely devastating. I don't know how I'm gonna feel like when the season starts to wind down, right? And it's like the final couple of weeks, and you're like, crap, it's the final couple of home games, and like, I don't know, the emotions might hit me then. But yeah, definitely gonna miss my coworkers, the amazing supervisors that I worked with, and I just met a lot of great people, great coworkers, great fans, and definitely had a blast. And I'm definitely gonna miss that for sure.
My bad. Isaiah, is a lot of workers that kind of aware about this as well, or is it pretty much just kind of been flown under the radar? I was just kind of curious.
I mean, the thing is, like, we kind of knew that this was going to happen, that this was inevitable. Right. But the thing is that we thought, like, okay, that, with the black cloud hovering above us, that we probably would be in Oakland for maybe like 3 years until they built that Vegas stadium. So that's why that Sacramento whole Sacramento news was just a gut punch, because we didn't expect to lose it this quickly. Like, we expected to lose the A's in our jobs, but we didn't expect to lose it this quickly. And I think that's why it really, really hurts. It's because we're losing it like, this is going to be the last season. And I still can't even fathom that that's the case.
Right, yeah, it's going to be tough. But really quickly, anything about the Phillies before we go?
Yeah, they're off to a not a good start, but I'm not surprised because they don't have a fourth and a fifth starter. That's what they need. They don't really have a lot of depth in the rotation outside of the top three. They definitely need to get someone for sure. The lineup hasn't been hitting, unfortunately. They've been kind of ice cold. Trey Turner, I'm kind of worried about him. Schwarber's been ice cold. So the big boys in the lineup have been ice cold to start the season. And I don't know why. Maybe it's the cold air in Philadelphia, but I think they will definitely start to heat up once May hits and June hits. You just hope the Phillies aren't in like a big hole like they were, in the NL East at like last year and the year before. So I'm not worried, but they need to start treading water because the Braves are just running away with that division as we speak.
What do you guys think about their City Connects that they brought out Friday? Do you like them or no?
I didn't really see them.
For me, I don't like it. It looks like the Mariners and the Marlins. It just doesn't fit the Phillies. Like they're not blue. Like they're a team that's red and white. So I would have rather if I was making the City Connects, I probably would have made something that's like red and white with their team colors, and maybe done something with like, I don't know, the Liberty Bell, the Philly Fanatic as well.
That would have been red and green. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Harper's hot for them. Let me just mention that, but that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I gotta head out, fellas. It was great talking to you, and hopefully, we can come together sometime this week, maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, Thursday. because I am going to the Giants Nationals game, even though I don't want to. But this is why you don't buy. This is why you don't have your phone with you when you're getting hammered at a bar. Is because you end up buying stupid tickets like I did when I was at the A's game. I don't know how. I woke up the next day and voila, I had a ticket for the Giants game all set up and bought for me. So I don't even want to go. Like I looked on the Uber app. For me to Uber from the game to my house, it's gonna be $100. So and you know where I live, I don't want to take the train just because of how dangerous it's gonna be at night. So like I'm kind of in a position where I'm like, oh crap, it's night game. It's gonna be freezing cold at Oracle Park, especially next to the water. Ubering back or Ubering there and Ubering back, it's going to cost me over $150 combined. So this is why, and I'm going to end my statements with this. This is why do not have your phone when you're drunk. Just don't do it. If you're drinking, do not have your phone with you.
Isaiah, let me get my ticket, bro.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming, James.
All right. Well, Isaiah, appreciate you coming on, my friend, and definitely hope to see you soon. All right, James.
I bet you want to talk about our series, don't you, Ben?
Oh, I mean, we can. Yeah, we can if you want to. But yeah, we'll start in terms of my overall thoughts of the Red Sox so far.
Yeah.
So the Red Sox had a 10-game West Coast trip. Of course. Wow. Yeah, we're actually the last team to have our home opener,
that's Tuesday,
really
correct?
happened. Tuesday, which I'll be at, which should be really good. They're going to be honoring, I think the 2014 or the 2013 team, one of them. Tim Wakefield's going to get remembered, of course. His wife's going to get remembered. Larry Lucchino, of course, is going to get remembered. So it's going to be a very, very somber day, but I'm expecting it to be pretty electric as well too. Kind of given where. Obviously, opening day, obviously at Fenway, of course, that's one thing. But I just think the start to the team, I think at least get some fans a little hopeful, at least a little bit, right, to start. So I think it should be a pretty good crowd, which I'm excited about. But yeah, the Red Sox started off on a 10-game road trip, starting with 4 in Seattle, and then they had the A's for 3, and then they had your Angels for 3. So I was just hopeful for like a 500 type of record going back home, at least be in that stretch because, it's really hard, especially with this team. I just don't know in terms of my expectations. Even with 7-3, I still have to pepper down. But what I will say, James, is the team looks like they're going to be a fun team. I don't know if they're going to be great. I don't know if they're going to be good, but they seem like they're going to be a lot of fun. They took 2-4 from Seattle. Getting a split in a 4-game series, James, I always tell myself in a 4-game series to at least either win it or split it. It's really tough to obviously lose it. In that overall series, they had a chance to take 3-4. That second game, Kirby pitched a gem, so I wasn't too upset about that one. But the third game, Corey went to Joey Rodriguez, which I still don't understand why he's still pitching for us. But it was an extra inning games that the Mariners, I think, we were up 3-1 in the extras, and then they got 3 runs and extras, and they won, and the Mariners won that game. So it was good though. The Red Sox came back in that Sunday game to split it, but theoretically they could have taken that series. But 2-4, can't complain. They went to Oakland, and obviously Isaiah's not on here, so I didn't really want to tell him this, but goodness gracious, that's a bad A's team, man. That really, I feel bad for them. I know. Obviously they took 2-3 from Detroit this past weekend, so. I think specifically that they got players there, right? I'm obviously myself saying they're bad, it's obviously a little too harsh. I mean, I just don't think, in that division they're gonna obviously not really playing for much. Like, I don't think they're gonna be great. But the Red Sox absolutely pulled on the scene offensively in the first game. Tanner Houck looked really good. I'll talk about the pitching a little bit because the pitching was pretty good. Andrew Bailey so far has at least looked really good. And the Red Sox, James, so far, I know, like I said, I know it's early, but they're one of the best team ERAs and pitching. The Red Sox.
Good.
So it's pretty good to see because obviously our pitching the last couple years has been dreadful. So at least to start, it's looked pretty good. So the first game, the Sox won 9-0 against the A's. And then the last two games were kind of a little shaky. Although the defense played really well, the defense came up big the extra inning game. And the second game against the A's, and then in the third game, the Red Sox only got one run, but somehow the A's didn't score, thankfully. So I'll take that sweep. And then obviously going to you guys on the Angels. Obviously, you guys were kind of coming off on a hot streak there. And then obviously you were at two of the games. You said Friday, Saturday. Obviously the first game, the Red Sox were up 4-0, and then Trevor Story goes down.
Yeah,
I'm freaking real. I don't know what the status is right now, but it doesn't look good. Obviously, the defense is a massive thing with Stories out there. Of course, it looked really good before when he was out there. I really thought that his hitting was going to start to kind of come around throughout the season, but this guy, man, I mean, it's like Kruse, like it sucks because it's almost like when it kind of comes down to like a woulda, coulda, shoulda type of contract. Because I want him to do well, I really do, like with Story, but it's just he's just so injury prone. Like, and I hope he's okay. Like, I really want him to come back and have a good, finish up the year. But he had a press conference the other night afterward, and he was pretty emotional, and it doesn't look good. So the Red Sox are gonna have to go internal. But ever since he went down, James, after the Red Sox were up 4-0, the Red Sox had a couple of errors. On that sixth inning, and then Logan O'Hoppe had the grand slam. I'm like, oh my goodness! I mean, it was almost just like it was bound to happen. So that wasn't good. But then the Red Sox came back. They got a couple of home runs. They got a lot of home runs in that game. Tyler O'Neill, James, for us, has been great so far. He had a couple home runs in this series, including 2 home runs in the Friday night game. So that was obviously good to see. Cutter Crawford pitched okay. He got a little bit ineffective. He only went 4 innings, had 5 strikeouts, but he got a little effective in that, I believe, that 5th or 6th inning. So, but the Red Sox pulled out 8-6 win on Friday. And then yesterday, the Saturday game, Reed Detmers was phenomenal. I think we're not going to be a great team against lefties this year. I just think our righty batters aren't as effective as our lefty batters. So that's why a guy like O'Neill, I think, is going to be massive. Maybe we get a guy at the deadline, possibly at a right-handed bat. So I'll take a look about that. But I thought our pitching was good. Garrett Redlock, obviously, kind of like Crawford, didn't go deep, of course, threw a lot of pitches, but kind of kept them in the game. The bats were just really cold. And then obviously Devers, bases loaded. Brutal error that he had, of course, with the 2 runs to the Angels, and that was that. But obviously you got to score more runs in that game. But, James, they came back today, and they came back with a vengeance to finish off a long road trip, and Tanner Houck was phenomenal again. He's been one of our best bright spots so far because he's had his moments of not getting through the third time around. And at least for the first 2 games, he's gone 6 innings, no runs, no runs, and no walks. Actually, I take it back. No runs and no earned runs. 2 walks in the first, 2 walks today, but less than 3 walks overall. He's had 17 strikeouts so far in the first 2 starts for Tanner Houck. So really good stuff there. Reese McGuire today. Reese McGuire has been really good for us. He's not an overall joke anymore because a lot of people are kind of giving him shit. Of course, the stuff out the field I cannot want to say here on the air, but it's not pretty. If you want to talk about his backstory, if you want to see it, I don't recommend it, but the jokes speak for itself. I'll just say that. But he's done really well, all jokes aside. And David Hamilton, shortstop for the Sox, obviously came in with Storer obviously being out, and he had a homer today. So that was really nice to see. Devers hit a homer. Devers obviously has had a really slow start to the year offensively, but he'll come around. I'm not too worried. Tristan Casas had 2 hits today. O'Neill had another home run. Chase Anderson, the Red Sox got kind of as like a spot start, long relay type of guy. And it was good to see Cedon Rafaela coming up with 2 hits off the bench. So an overall good over a weekend for the Red Sox. Sorry, James, obviously kind of had to come against you guys. But 7-3, we're only a game back of second place behind the Yankees. The Red Sox actually are tied with the Orioles in run differential so far in the division. So that's obviously really good to see. So before we go to James on your Angels, is the Red Sox have coming up now. They have the Orioles for 3 games. Like I said, I'll be at the game Tuesday with Brian Bale against Corbin Burns. That'll be a really fun matchup there. And then they have Wednesday, Thursday, and then they got the Angels again. So you guys obviously might get the chance to get some revenge on us back in Boston. And then we got 4 against the Guardians. So they kind of give us a little bit of payback. I was obviously I felt like I was obviously, my sleep schedule was fucking me up with the West Coast group games. But thankfully, they're off. I think they're not going to be going back on like the West Coast. They're going to be like 10 o'clock games to like June or July. Thank God.
Yeah.
So at least it's kind of back. At least it's kind of out of the way now. So
Yeah.
like I said, all things aside, 7-3. I'll take. I was hopefully, like I said, 500. I'll take 7-3 for sure. Back home, Baltimore. I think we'll probably lose that series. Actually, you know what? Baltimore's going to have been up and down. And then Guardians is a 4-game series. So let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's a 10-game homestand out with the Red Sox. So 10-game road trip. 10 games, all going to be at home. So I'll take 5-5. I'll take 6-4. I'll take that. So we'll see how that goes. So now to you, James. Go to your Angels. And we also want to we appreciate you in terms of your service of Anthony Rendon getting on the hit board this weekend series, because I know for a lot of Angel fans, they're ripping on him left and right, and it's obviously it's good for him to take a part about that. And obviously Mike Trout, having a homer against the Red Sox, it was going to be happening. So thankfully it didn't mean much at the time today, but that was going to be a given. So, all right, James. Talked a little bit here. I'll let it take to you.
Yeah, I just looked up the Reese McGuire stuff, and okay, I didn't know that. But yeah, looking at the Angels stuff, wow. Let's see, what the hell happened since we last talked? When did we last talk? Did we talk about the weekend series in what was it? Out on the road?
I don't know if we talked about it at all, to be honest. I mean, you could just recap it, to be honest.
From opening day in Baltimore. Let's just go there.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about that, actually.
The first 2 games wasn't really much to talk about. The Orioles just blew us away. The starting pitchers did not do well. And the offense was never there. And somehow a miracle happened, and they won Sunday. And I think, what was it? After that Saturday game, I was like, there's no way they're going to go 4-2 on this road trip. But guess what? They went to Miami Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they won them all. And luckily, it was actually great starting pitching 2 of those 3 games against the Fish. It was Tyler Anderson somehow on Tuesday, and then Patrick Sandoval looked really, really good on Wednesday. Now, Chase Silseth, who started today for the Angels, as you know, started on Monday last week against Miami and didn't do well. And he didn't do well here against the Red Sox today. He gave up a lot of home runs. Let me just say that. It was all these solo shots at first. And it just seemed like Boston just piled on today.
Yep.
Even Miguel Sanu came in that 9th inning and pitched. Hate seeing that. But yeah, I got to give credit today to your starting pitcher, Hoek. He was working his slider in there very well. What he went, 6 innings? No. He went 6 innings.
Yep.
He has he has no earned runs, given up 17 strikeouts and only 2 walks.
This is our really good. This is our number 4 or 5 pitcher, James, by the way.
I wish that was my number 4 pitcher. O'Neill has 7 home runs already, or 5 home runs this year, I want to say.
Something like he's on the Adam Duvall of April last year with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
He just gives me that vibe of just like a guy that came in. Now think about this too, James. I was looking at O'Neill's stats from 2021 with the Cardinals. I know like the last players of the Cardinals, he kind of struggled. But he had a 286 average in 2021 with the Cardinals. he hit 34 home runs. If this guy stays healthy, I'll take like 24, 25 home runs, and he could be a massive piece to this team. But he just has to stay healthy. Like, that's the only thing. Like, with this Red Sox team specifically, they don't have a lot of guys on their bench that you can just trust. It's really going to have to come down to guys massively their health. And obviously, like I said, with that Story stuff, not only was obviously Story trying to kind of get himself back into a full-on season, but just the guys behind him. There's just no, production, not only offensive, but defense takes a massive dip. So that's that was that. So
yeah, Friday night at the game, and that whole Rendon situation where people on Angels X or Twitter was telling people to stand up and cheer for Anthony Rendon like they did Trey Turner and Alex Bohm with Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Angel fans are not going to do that. I mean, it was like 90% boos, and then you had two idiots in our section stand up and cheer. It was just unbelievable. But he actually got a hit that day. He ran out a Devers chopper, and that was pretty much it. I think that was his only hit of the series, I want to say. But
no, he got a hit today too.
No, and I think Saturday he got a hit too. But yeah, it was just too much power for the Red Sox. And again, Silseth struggled today. Chris Martin's really solid for you guys, along with Kenley Jansen.
Yep.
That bullpen, who we thought, man, I always remember you talking about your bullpen a couple years ago, just how bad it is. Yep. And now it's kind of forming into really something good.
Yeah, definitely. I thought last year, James, too, really sorry to cut you off, but last year our bullpen was actually not our issue. It was our starters just not giving us enough length to get to those back end guys. And I know with Kenley, I know like you mentioned him, I think Kenley so far has kind of actually had a slower start than typical. I don't know if it's in terms of in shape, but his velo's kind of been down. But he got the job done. He's gotten the job done the last couple of starts. So maybe it's just kind of himself kind of working back with his command. He's not throwing as hard, but I think command-wise, he looked a lot better this past weekend. So, but Martin is just absolutely nails. This guy, really cool stat with Martin is I don't think he gave up in terms of a right-handed batter, I think he only gave up like 2 guys or 3 guys that like get an extra base hit against him. Like his stuff is just like it was a great find. The only thing that sucks is him and Kenley will be both free agents this year. So that's why I think that one reason why we got Liam Hendricks is I think that he's going to replace Kenley. Whether it's like halfway through this year or if the Red Sox are kind of in it by the deadline, getting Liam Hendricks back, especially if like Andrew Bailey could kind of help him in terms of his overall stuff. That'll be a lot of fun. And they got this guy, Justin Slayton, who looks like he's going to be an absolute, diamond in the rough. He's looked really good so far. So, yeah, the bullpens look really great. It's actually kind of refreshing to see some guys that can get outs too.
Another funny note about Saturday. That center fielder of yours, man, he had a hard time with the outfield. He had that error where he didn't close the glove.
Yeah.
It led to
he's typically really good too. Raphael, you're mentioning, that was bad, but yeah.
Led to a Sano Walker hit. I think it was a walk, and then when Ohapi got up and the base was loaded, I was telling the friends I was with at the game, I was like, "Hey, if he hits a grand slam, I'll give everyone a hot dog here." And 2 pitches later, he hits a grand slam. That's just amazing. And then there was one play I had to mention on Friday. Your left fielder. What's his name?
Duran. Yeah, Duran played left. What was it, Friday? Yeah, he played left field.
The Angels got their 6th run, but it was Taylor Ward, I think, who scored. But Duran, he got an arm. And he almost got Ward at home. It was so close. We were right on the floor watching it. It was amazing. So, yeah, Boston took the first one 8-6. And then Saturday, winning 2-1, I knew it was going to be kind of a pitcher's duel with, Whitlock going for you guys. And then Detmer's as good as he's doing for the Angels so far. I mean, he's piling up the strikeouts, which is great to see. I'm sorry, who was your Whitlock? And I know he only went 4 and 1/3, but he
Yep.
walked 4, he struck out 4, and I was just surprised with Detmers and the whole Angels staff there. They really got the strikeout. Well, Detmers,
Yeah,
like I mentioned,
we've been striking out a lot so far this season. That's been one of our negatives. It has to
hitter,
stop. Like, we got to put the ball in play. We've just been striking out a ton lately. So
hitter or strikeout. That's what it seems like for the Red Sox. It's like home run, extra base hit, or it's just going to be a strikeout. Yeah, but Detmer is just like, he was drafted in the first round for a reason. And sometimes he'll show it, sometimes he won't, and he showed it here. But Saturday was great because I was there. But yeah, today was just terrible. I was listening to most of the game, and it was bad after a while. I mean, it was 4-0. The Angels left, I think, 8 men on base that could have helped, but then Jose Suarez came in and blew the game away. He had the home run, or gave up the home run to McGuire.
Yep. That was pretty much like nail in the coffin for you guys. Because 4-0 specifically, I think you guys had 3 guys on. I think Drury was up, and Halcott was able to kind of get out of some jams, which was massive to kind of keep that lead, keep that momentum on our side. And then once McGuire hit that 3-run home run, 7-0, I'm like, all right, because I think with the Angels kind of all weekend, they obviously Trout had the home run today, but I think our pitching pretty much over on the West Coast strip, really, they obviously had their, obviously the Grand Slam with Hoppy, but like they never really had to I never really I was like panicking massively. I mean, I guess I take that back. I guess in terms of the A series with Kenley a little bit, but like overall, like I thought the pitching did a pretty good job of handling jams, traffic guys on base, and just defensively. I mean, obviously after Story went down, it was a little bit more on the shakier side, but defensively, it looked a lot better too. So when Hal got out of that jam, still up 4-0, then McGuire hit that 3-run home run, I was just like, all right, we're probably gonna be okay.
Yeah. So the Angels, they will have 3 home games against the Tampa Bay Rays Monday, Tuesday night, and Wednesday afternoon, in which Isaiah randomly, I egged him on and said, I bet you won't buy me a ticket. But because of that bet that I had that the Angels wouldn't go 4-2 on that road trip, the first road trip of the season, I had to go to every afternoon Angel game this month. So
Isaiah was telling me about that. Yeah, I'm just like, well, this is news to me because you were saying about before the year that you didn't know how much you'd go to, but that was news to me when Isaiah told me about that. So that was really funny.
I have 4 more to go to, I think, this season. And that was my 4th opening day in a row, and I never went before. So I've been going since 21. So at least that streak is alive. So I'll be going Wednesday against the Orioles, and then they're on the road again, back east. What was it, 3 with Boston, I want to say? And then
we face you guys next weekend. We always seem to face you guys. Like I remember I saw the Angels at Fenway last year in April.
Last year,
they always faced us because I remember seeing I really wanted to see Ohtani, and live. And that was in April. That was a lot of fun. I got to see you guys twice. I saw Detmers one game, and I saw Anderson the second, and we won both games, so that obviously kind of made it up a little bit. But it was really cool to see Ohtani live for sure. Sucked in to get a home run. I would love to see him get a homer, but he did a couple hits. I think on the Saturday game, and I've seen Trout before too. I saw the Angels multiple times outside of last year too. So I saw Trout, but I really want to see Ohtani last year, so that was really fun. They faced them again in April this year too. So should be a lot of fun.
It's amazing to think that already the Angels will be done with 3 of the AL East teams already. Wow. Tampa, Boston, and Baltimore. And that's it for the end of April. And then we don't play a divisional opponent until June. It's the weirdest thing this year, the schedule for the Angels. But yeah, that's all I got.
I mean, heck, the AL East is one of the best divisions of baseball, James. So I bet you're probably
Always.
not even complaining about it. You're probably just like, at least for us, we got the West Coast out of the way. For you guys, it's getting all the AL East out of the way. So I guess it's some of kind of a silver lining. All right, really quickly before we go on, we do have a lot of comments here. So we got Chardell here. Hey, what's going on, Chardell? Hope you're doing well. How are you? I'm doing well. I'm excited for UConn tomorrow, so praying that they get it done. Isaiah, what are your thoughts on? Yes, we'll talk about Astros, Rangers, James as well too. We'll kind of do some stuff around the league, obviously outside of our team reports, which we pretty much concluded as of late. So, if you want to kind of get into some teams, right, that we can kind of talk about, we could talk about that. So we'll get to that. Tell us about the bet, as I was mentioning. Of course, I found out about the bet, of course, as you were mentioning with me and you, Isaiah, during the show with the Sox A's. Seth Johnson Ford. Seth, how are you doing, my friend? He said, good to see you all. It's been a long time. It has been a long time, but glad to be back. And like I said, we'll definitely be doing some more shows throughout this month. There's a lot going on, James. Like I said, basketball. We'll talk about some basketball a little bit. I think we'll have all the time to talk about that because, James, this is the last week of basketball, NBA basketball. Next week, I think, is the play-in, right? That's the first next week. Yeah. Next week is the play-in. So it should be a really, really good start to the NBA playoffs. Obviously, Sox March Madness is almost over, but when that's done, it's all about NFL play. I was gonna say NFL players. My mind's all whacked up right now. NBA playoffs and then NHL playoffs, and obviously we got baseball obviously in full swing right now. So it's still a lot going on. I still really like the April month, and obviously here in the Northeast, the weather gets a lot better. At least hopefully, my goodness. So. Actually, James, speaking of the weather really quickly before we go on, we actually had an earthquake a little bit in our area last couple days ago. So I know obviously for like people like the West Coast, like the people outside, they're like, oh, like this is nothing, right? People here in the Northeast, I didn't even hear anything. But like everybody like in my town, like my family was asking me when I was at work, like, hear anything? I'm like, nope. So but yeah, I guess there was some earthquake that we had a couple days ago. And we have a solar eclipse coming up I guess tomorrow, whatever. So I got my glasses ready to go as my mom got me some. So we'll see if I do that or not. But yeah, we'll see about that. All right. Seth also mentioned, James, you should making bets. They always screw you. I guess he's talking like DraftKings bets, Bandits. I don't know. Maybe I do some myself too. That's a lot of fun.
I always get screwed. The happy bet. And now, before that, I'm like, it always happens. Like, if I don't say anything, it won't happen. But if I say it, it's gonna happen. But I always always wager too much into it.
Right. All right. We'll save some of the rest of the comments for later on the program because I do want to get to some more stuff, James. Really quick before we go into some NBA stuff, I want to get to overall your thoughts on some of the stuff around the league, right? In terms of some of the MLB stuff. Now, I did obviously ask Isaiah about the move for the A's. Of course, that's pretty much now official. They're going to be going to the AAA park in Sacramento. That's going to be starting next year. That sucks. I mean, it kind of feels like the same, like Blue Jays, right? They're over in Dunedin playing their spring training games, but like for regular season. The dimensions aren't as wide. I mean, it's for like the hitters and stuff. I mean, they're going to be homers left and right now at a place like that because it's a AAA park. So, I mean, obviously it's good for the hitters, but obviously I don't know about the fans specifically, like how the fans are going to feel about it. So, that's obviously tough. So, get your overall reactions about that. But really quickly, let's kind of go quickly a little standing check on an early standing check. The AL East right now is obviously really tight. So in first, we have the Yankees. Second, Boston is a 7-3. Baltimore is number 3 right now. They're 5-4. They kind of had a little slow start. Tampa Bay 5-5. Like I said, James, before early in the season, I don't know how to feel about Tampa Bay. Obviously, we was missing McClanahan for the year, and Glasnow I think is going to be massive. And then the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have not done much this year so far. They just lost 2-3 against the Yankees.
Not hit much.
They're not hitting much at all. They lost 2-3 to Houston, and even though the one that they had, it came off of a 2-run home run, 2 outs in the ninth, Davis Schneider. So without that, they probably gotten swept, and they only had 2 runs in that game. Bichette, Vladdy, Springer, all those like main guys. I just feel like, James, I don't know if you want to agree with me or not, they feel too right-handed in their lineup. Like I feel like a guy like Bellinger kind of would have balanced it out. They just don't.
Yeah.
They don't really have a balanced feel in that lineup, and I think that's really going to hurt them this year. So the Blue Jays obviously had a tough start, but I don't know. I look at the division in terms of the Red Sox. Like I thought we are going to be last place, and we still might be. Like I said, I know it's early, but like there's some teams that might have a regression this year. I don't think Baltimore will have a regression. I think that 5-4 is very misleading. I think they'll be obviously really good. Speaking of Baltimore, did you see that their AAA team a couple days ago had 26 runs? Absolutely incredible. I mean, that farm team is going to be absolutely loaded, and I am not ready for those guys to come up at all because we have to deal with them for so many years. Thankfully with you guys, but for us, I mean, geez, that's going to be tough. But AL Central to start Cleveland 7-2, but James, tough news out of Cleveland. Shane Bieber's going to be out of Tommy John. So
damn it.
That's obviously not fun on top of all other pitchers that are going down. So I did read that. That's obviously really tough. The Tigers are 6-3. Like I said, this AL Central is going to be very up and down this year. But yeah, the Tigers obviously lost 2-3 with the A's. The Tigers obviously are going to be kind of up and down. How about the Royals, James? You know, like we said, the Royals, I feel like this year they're going to kind of have a year where I don't think they're going to do much, but they just took the White Sox. The White Sox, man, I mean, they're going to be awful. I mean, they're obviously pretty much awful as advertised. Yeah. They lost 3-4 in Baltimore. No, 2-3 to Baltimore, but they kept Baltimore within the game. I mean, they were close. I mean, I think the Royals are going to be a pesky team for some teams this year. Like I said, I don't think they're obviously going to make a lot of noise, but I think they're going to be pesky. The Twins are 3-4. The Twins obviously have had a slow start. I think they'll probably get a little bit better. The pitching's been kind of up and down, I guess, really. I'm Pablo Robles, Joe Ryan, but kind of the other guys have been kind of struggling. And that lineup thing's okay, but maybe the Twins take a little dip this year. And then obviously the White Sox are 1-8. I mean, that's they just I think Luis Robert Jr. is on the IL right now. He's not a slow start. Obviously, he's their best power bat. And there's just other guys. I mean, it's just an absolute mess over there. I mean, Garrett Kruse is obviously pitched well for them. He's only gotten their one win, but outside of that, they're going to be a dumpster fire, to say the least, over there. In the league of the AL West, the Rangers are 6-3. Texas and Astros, which of course I think Isaiah put in the chat. Let's see. Hold on. I don't know if you watched any of those games, James, about the Astros Rangers, but man, it's gonna be really
I just saw the game where it was a blowout. I didn't see the other ones.
Yeah, so that was a Sunday night game tonight. And obviously, really quickly before we go into the rest of the standings, yeah, Dane Dunning pitched really well, and Ronel Blanco, the guy that had a no-hitter for the Astros, he had 6 no-hit innings going for tonight. Yeah, my brother was telling me just like, nobody does it again, does he? And I'm just like, he was kind of talking to me about like, nobody's done it, and like the next batter, got the hit. I'm like, damn it. Oh. Just like, of course, like my brother, I'm like, I told him like, he jinxed it. He's like, I didn't jinx it. I'm like, yeah, you did. But all jokes aside, no, he pitched really well, that Blanco kid for the Astros. But yeah, the Rangers were down by 3 runs. It was 3-0. Hader kind of came in a little bit wild. But yeah, they had the tying run at bat and then grounded to a double play. But it was a 4-game series. Actually, wait. Yeah, it's a 4-game
tomorrow.
Series. They have another game tomorrow. Yeah. So the Astros could split this series, or Texas can take 3 out of 4. But Texas 6-3. They have a really good start as usual. Look at the Angels, James. They're 5-4, right? They're over 500. They're kind of peeking around. Seattle's 4-6. Seattle, something's going on with Seattle. Well, obviously, they have really good pitching, but I don't know how to feel about their offense. I thought their offense was kind of messed offensively. So far. Yeah, they're kind of messed so far offensively. They lost, of course, Suarez, Hernandez. They lost some guys. Some power guys in that lineup. Yeah. Houston, 3-7. Like I said, like we talked about, really slow start, but they faced a lot of tough teams. They had the Yankees. Yeah. I mean, obviously the Jays. I mean, the Jays obviously are going to be pesky regardless if they're good or not. And then obviously they have Houston. I mean, they have Texas. So all fair aside, I mean, that's obviously 3-7. It's obviously not what they want, right? But they'll be fine. I mean, obviously, like you said, they're very injured pitching-wise. They'll be fine. And then the A's. 3-7, right? I'm not expecting them to miraculously start putting up a lot of wins, but it's good to see them be battling for a young team. All right, the NL and the East, Atlanta 6-2. Obviously, the newest Strider though really sucks. I think he has some UCL problems right now or something like that. But he came in his last start and he was saying that he was really sore. So prayers for Strider because he is absolutely a beast. So I hope he stays healthy. The Phillies are 4-5. The Mets are 3-6. The Mets, their pitching's been okay, but their offense has been they can't score consistently right now. The Nationals are 3-6, and then the Marlins. Congrats to the Marlins because they are finally on the win board.
Yeah,
they got a win today against the Cardinals. The Marlins specifically, they might be moving off some pieces. I know there's an all-call already from Ken Rosenthal early on that guys like Josh Chisholm, Tim Anderson, Josh Bell maybe.
He's always been candidate. Josh Bell, that dude has been traded, I think, 3 times already in his career.
Yeah, I think he might be a free agent too this offseason, so they might trade him for trying to get some value. But yeah, the Marlins kind of fall out of it, and Yuri Perez, another guy that's gonna be on the injury, he's gonna be off for the year. So the Marlins are, Jesus Lazaro might be on the trade block by the deadline. I mean, the Marlins, I don't know how they're gonna be this year. They just have not had a good start. Their pitching looks very shaky, obviously, with a lot of the guys down now. And Sandy Alcantara, I don't think has pitched yet. So, yeah, they just have a lot going on there.
Out as well for Miami.
What's that?
They have also 4 starters out, the Marlins.
Yeah. They're really, to be fair, their pitching, obviously, a lot of their main guys are down. But their offense has had some of their struggles, too, to be fair, too. So, NL Central, how about the Pirates, James?
I love it.
I love it, too. 8-2. And to be fair, James, too, like I said, I know the overreactions to the start of the year. It's always fun. It's always good to see. But they took 2 out of 3 this weekend against the Orioles. So
that's big.
Good for the Pirates. They took 2 out of 3. I mean, in Washington, I don't think the Nationals are going to be anything special. But yeah, 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. I mean, obviously that's going to be a team that's going to be really good this year. So give the Pirates some credit. And then they took their first 4 games of the season against the Marlins. So I mean, good for the Pirates. I mean, like I said, the NL Central, could be anybody's game. The Brewers are 6-2. They really haven't missed a step so far. I mean, I don't really know in terms of who they face so far. But good for the Brewers. The kind of, not stuff to beat. Obviously, they had that Rhys Hoskins, Jeff McNeil stuff in Queens kind of start the year. That was obviously really fascinating to watch, right? So, the Brewers obviously won that series to the Mets, and then they came home. They had 2 games against the Twins, I believe. Actually, hold on. Yeah, 2 games with the Twins. They split that, and then they just took 2 out of 3 against the Mariners. Yeah. So, the Brewers obviously haven't lost a step right now. So they got the Reds this week, so that's really fun to see. Speaking of the Reds, though, the Cubs are 6-3. Shona Amanga has pitched really well so far for the Cubs. Yep. Justin Steele, another pitcher that's down. He's on the injury list. Sucks. Hopefully he's going to be okay. Just another ace that is down right now. But, the Cubs, I think, are going to be a really good team. Seiya Suzuki's looked good so far. They got Swanson. They got obviously a lot of guys, and I had them winning division. The Reds are 5-4. They're kind of in the mix right now, right? I will say this, though. I feel like Ellie De La Cruz is kind of falling off. I don't know if specifically it's just guys are just kind of pitching him better, but it just kind of sucks. I mean, he's had a 258 average, but he has no home runs so far. So I thought maybe he'd be a little more of a power threat, but he might be just more of a kind of a better, just an overall project talent. We'll kind of see because I do really love his game. So maybe it's just kind of a slow start for kind of a lot of guys. Yeah. And then the Cardinals are 5-5. Okay. So yeah, the NL Central, I mean, we obviously talked about before the season, a lot of these teams, there'd be a couple of teams that'd be really bad, but a lot of these teams are now kind of in it. And then look at the NL West, the Dodgers 8-4. That should pretty much not shock anybody. Mookie's obviously tearing it up like usual. Yep. The Padres are 5-7. Not great, but I think they'll be okay. The Diamondbacks are 4-6. The Giants are 4-6, and then the Rockies. The Rockies are like the White Sox and the A's and stuff. They essentially will be in last place. I mean, for pretty much the whole season, that's not a shock either. So without further ado, James, like I said, I've gone through obviously every part division so far of the standings. I want to ask you before, like I said, we'll get to some basketball stuff. What's been overall some of your impressions on some of those teams, both the AL and NL? Any teams that have shocked you? Any type of cool storylines? Obviously, like I asked you about the move for the A's. So before we get to NBA basketball, is there anything you want to talk about baseball related before we get to some NBA stuff?
I'm just really happy again for Cleveland, Detroit, and Kansas City, because those three teams are kind of looked down upon. Like me, I had Minnesota winning that division. It'd be like 82-80, but now it looks like it's going to be a 3-team race or a 4-team race. It's not just going to be one, and I hope that's going to be the case because we're not expecting much out of these teams here. I'm kind of shocked at the Yankees. Even without the Cole, they just have too much firepower offensively. The young guys have stepped up, so that's been really good to see if you're a Yankee fan. Again, with the Astros, hey, they have so many injuries, so they're not at full strength when you talk about pitchers. Philly, it always seems like they get off to bad starts, so I'm not really surprised by that. Atlanta always gets off to a good start. Pittsburgh, remember, got off to a good start last year, but then they ended up falling out. I guess Milwaukee would be kind of a shock just because of their record. But Willie Adames has really come on as of late. And then they had that, sweep of the Mets to start the season, kind of rally around each other. And it's no shocker the Dodgers are 8-4. There's no shocker about that. I think every time they lose, it feels like their world is gonna end.
Yeah.
But I guess those are things that kind of come out to me when it comes to the NBA. Yo, I'll be right back. I'll be back for you, the team report for the Clippers.
Sure. Okay. All right. So with James obviously coming right back, like I said, I'll take a look really quickly at some comments before we get to some basketball stuff. All right. So what did I leave off with the comments here? Who do you guys think will replace Calipari at UK? I was mentioning that, Seth, early on in the program. I think it's going to be Nate Oates, who was the head coach with Alabama. Let's see specifically in terms of where things stand about that. That was a really good question. Seth also mentioned, I think that could trigger massive dominoes to fall since UK has massive blue blood job. Definitely agree with that. Like I said, we'll have to see. He also said, could Billy Donovan go back to college? Rick Pitino, Todd Golden, or Dan Hurley has been mentioned. Coach K comes back. Does UK go get Bill Self? I think Billy Donovan stays in the NBA. Pitino, I think, really likes it over at St. John's. Golden, oh, man, he might walk. I don't know about that. Dan Hurley ain't going anywhere. And Coach K, I think he says retired. Bill Self, I think, comes back to Kansas. I don't see him walking either, unless he gets like a massive overpay from somewhere else. But that's pretty much what I think about. I think Donovan stays in Chicago. Pitino stays with St. John's. Golden, I think, might walk. I'm not sure. But Hurley's going to stay. That's pretty much a given. And then Coach K, he stays retired. And then Bill Self, I think, stays in Kansas. So who are the top players and players that should start the season in baseball? Oh, man. It's tough. Had a tough start to the year. I mean, Aaron Judge, I guess, for the Yankees had a really tough start to the year, but he's kind of starting to kind of become the Judge of old. Same with Jordan Alvarez. He had a homer today. He's going to get going. A lot of guys specifically kind of had slow starts. Anthony Rendon, obviously, really slow start. But like I said, I don't know if it'll be the same guy as usual. So those are a couple guys. Pitching wise, man, it's tough. I mean, I guess Nestor Cortez for the Yankees. He's had a really tough start to the year. It doesn't seem like his fastball has as much zip as before, but like I said, you can't really. I mean, Aaron Noel obviously has had some shaky starts here and there, but like I said, it's really tough. You really can't really gauge much of results after two games. So, and then Isaiah had really happy that you went opening J James, and you will Ben on Tuesday. I can't wait. I'm really excited. Opening day is super special. It's a different vibe than any other games. Recommend everyone to go to opening day. Yeah, I mean, I got to go to opening day for the Red Sox when they faced the Angels, but that was when the home opener kind of got pushed back because of the lockout that happened a couple years ago. So everything kind of got pushed back, but it just kind of fell where the ticket that I paid for the Red Sox that year, it was last year actually. Crazy enough, wow! Like last offseason, we were still in that lockout, which oh my goodness, that was awful. But yeah, I got to go to two of the games that essentially I paid for tickets for, but they turned out to be opening day weekend. So it was really, really good. It was really fun, exciting. But like this schedule this year is kind of back to normal, and I'm really excited to go to that game on Tuesday. We're supposed to be really good weather. They're facing obviously a really good team, really good pitcher. So it should be a really fun day, and hopefully the Red Sox win. And then he also said, it's super weird for the A's to play Boston this early. We always play the Red Sox in June, July. Yeah, that's right. I know, like, typically in Oakland, we kind of face you guys a lot earlier in the season. I think more than you guys obviously play the Red Sox in Boston earlier in the season. I think there's been a couple times that the A's have been in Boston, like April, May. But typically it's kind of they're in Boston typically like during the summer. Then the Red Sox play the A's kind of early on of the season. All right. Without further ado, and as we're waiting for James to come back, let's now transition over to basketball and NBA, because I know we talked about some college basketball. But we're going to talk about some NBA basketball. Probably the last segment for tonight, because I know obviously it's almost 1:20-ish in the morning on the East Coast. So it's obviously, a big day ahead between the eclipse coming, and then obviously I got some stuff myself later on today once I wake up, and then obviously the UConn game tonight. So it's a big Monday ahead for me. So it should be a lot of fun, despite the fact I'm not working, which thankfully I have a couple of days off after 4 or 5 consecutive days I was working, obviously. So it'd be nice to have a couple of days off after that. But obviously the grind never stops. All right, basketball. So this is the last week of the NBA season. We have made it to the last week. Now, I really do think, obviously, as a Celtics fan myself, the Celtics really have everything basically clenched up. They got the East locked up. They got home court locked up. So at this point in time, they are not playing for anything. They're not playing for anything. I mean, Jason Tatum rested today against Portland. Obviously, they could have rested everybody, today, and it would not have mattered. But they have 4 more games left. They got at Milwaukee on Tuesday, which means nothing at this point. Milwaukee's kind of struggling right now, but that game just does not mean anything. The Knicks, the Hornets, and then the Wizards. April 14th, which is this Sunday now, obviously because it's now the 8th of April, so it's this week. This week. So that's pretty much it. So it's gonna be a good end of the week to the regular season. But thankfully, we got some playoff basketball coming for NBA, and that should be really exciting to come. Some early storylines. Sorry, guys. Joel Embiid is back with the Sixers. The Sixers have played really, really well recently since NBA came back. Not too shocking about that. But obviously, I did the standings for baseball not too long ago. I'm going to go through the standings now for NBA because that's a little more pivotal, kind of talking about that than talking about standings in April, because I know for a fact those stuff will change. These might not. So what's not changing right now, right, in the Eastern Conference. So I'll go through 1 through 10 pretty much the top 2 teams pretty much have clinched that are going to be guarantees. The Celtics, obviously, number 1. The Bucks, obviously, are going to be number 2. Well, number 2 more likely than not. Then you got the Magic. The Magic are going to be a playoff team this year. They're in third place. I mean, worst comes to worst, that might be a 4 or 5. James, welcome back, by the way. And then the Knicks, obviously, they're going to be a playoff team. Obviously, they had a really good one tonight against the Bucks. But, obviously it sucked with Randall going to be down for the playoffs. So that's going to be a big, tall task for guys like Mitchell Robinson. And I don't know about Anunoby, but he did come back, I believe, today. He's been kind of in and out with that next team. So it's all about in terms of what type of Anunoby you get. If you get a buy-in type of one or get a guy that's not playing 100%, because it makes a lot of difference there. The Cavs are the 5 seed. The Pacers are the 6 seed, so that's the 1 through 6. And then the playing teams right now. So Philly, technically speaking, they're 44 and 35. Just looking at like points, though, theoretically, there's some teams that could probably get in the top 6. I could see Philly, and I could see Miami. Pretty much everybody else besides me playing teams. The Bulls are 9, the Hawks are 10. That's pretty much that. Yeah, right. And think about this, James. That a team with 36 wins right now with the Hawks. I mean, they're more likely than not going to be in the playoffs. I mean, it's just the playing stuff specifically at this point in time is just absolutely crazy.
Ben, if you're not over 500, you shouldn't get in the play-in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really good for like the league, but I just think just the teams itself, it's just like, I mean, it's almost like they're trying to make it kind of like a March Madness feel. I guess at this point in time, it's just like, all right, like we'll pull like the really low seeds. Yeah, like the first 4, right? I'll pull like the low seeds and like just hopeful for like a miracle, right? At this point. But yeah, that's the East from 1 to 10. Now we'll go to you, James, and obviously like this is kind of really good transition to ask you about how the Clippers are at this point in time, with the last week kind of approaching of the regular season, and how you kind of feel about them going into the playoffs. But the Western Conference really quickly. Wow, this is going to be tight. This is going to be a lot of fun. So number 1, of course, is the Minnesota Timberwolves. 2 is Denver. 3 is OKC. Those 3 teams are already clinched. The Clippers have not clinched yet, but they're more likely not going to be a playoff team for sure. They're number 4. Dallas is 2 wins away from clinching. I do know that. They had a big one today against Houston. Phoenix is number 6. And then the playing teams right now, it looks like Golden State, I believe, clinched a playing spot today, which but the playing teams right now in the West are the Pelicans, the Kings, the Lakers, and the Warriors. So the West, really, the playing teams are a lot better, specifically than the East. I mean, the playing team in the East are just freaking gross. I mean, you look at the playing teams, you have the Hawks, you have the Bulls. I mean, just like, yeah, the West. I mean, I'll obviously love the Celtics, of course, them being the East, but the West is just a lot more stacked. Just looking at it. I mean, the Bucks obviously are good. The Knicks obviously could be good. The Cavs, the Pacers. I mean, obviously Heat, of course, giving us fits in the past, but I just look at that West, man. It's like, yeah, it's every team. I mean, just going down the bottom of the West. Of course, the T-Wolves obviously number 1. They kind of make a break. Obviously, the Nuggets are defending champs. They're obviously a wagon. OKC, obviously, that fun young team, that fun story. Clippers, obviously, yeah, I love that team. Clippers, obviously, really fun, really good year, of course. That core is really kind of done a lot this year. Dallas, obviously, with that duo, but we'll have to see about it in the playoffs. Phoenix, obviously, great, talented. It's all about meshing. New Orleans, obviously, with Zion there and being healthy with Zion, that's a key for that team. The Kings, they've been very inconsistent. They've had some injuries. The Lakers, very inconsistent. Warriors, inconsistent. So I'll go to you now, James, with the week away of the regular season in the NBA. I'll ask you first about your team report, and then 2, what are some things that you're looking at in terms of either it's like team specifically or just any type of things to watch out for the last week of the NBA regular season before the play-in start next week?
The Clippers are 50 and 28. They're 4 games out of the first spot in fourth in the 4th spot in the West. And they've had a weird go about it lately. I mean, they've won their last six out of 7, but just like today, they had to make some comebacks in games. Like today, for instance, they had their biggest comeback win of the season, an afternoon affair against the Cavaliers in which the Cavaliers just blew it. They had 80 points at the half, I believe, and they just had a second half to forget. They let the Clippers come back in. Paul George has been amazing as of late. He had 39 today, and this 3-game winning streak started with Denver last Thursday, and he had a big 28. They held off the Nuggets that night. And then an easy win against Utah. Now they have a away home series against Phoenix before ending the season at home
That's
against
big.
Utah and Houston. You mentioned how big that is because of these Western standings and how close everyone really is. But the Suns are 4 games back of the Clippers. Like the Suns would have to win 4, and then the Clippers would have to lose all 4.
Right.
And then you have the Magic. They're just 2 games behind the Clippers for 5th, and that's for home court in that series, 4 against 5. So that's going to be huge. And we remember in 2020 how the Mavericks gave the Clippers fits in the bubble in their first round series. I believe that was 3 versus 6. I want to say, I can't recall, but.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm so interested to look at the top of this Western Division as I go into the funny things going around in the NBA. You got the upstart Timberwolves who defeated the Lakers tonight. There was no LeBron, and then AD got hit in the face by Kyle Anderson accidentally, and he did not finish the game. And I think that was in the first quarter, by the way. AD was out, and then the Timberwolves went on to win. But you have the Nuggets, and everybody kind of counted them out in a way, but you have to remember they're champions until they aren't. Jokic has been playing at MVP level. I think one of the worrisome things was, not having Bruce Brown and enough bench players. And then remember, they're without Jamal Murray. I think he's missed his 8th straight game recently.
Yeah.
Injury killing him. I mean, when you really think about it, when he isn't in the lineup for the playoffs, they lose. But the one time he is, they win the whole damn thing like last year. So it's funny how that goes with the Nuggets. And then for the Thunder, you just hope that they win a playoff series. They would go up against the Suns. Would you imagine Kevin Durant back in Oklahoma City in the first round? It'd be an amazing series. I would love to watch that. With all these upstart Thunder players, you have Chet Holmgren against KD. Are you kidding? That's the first round.
Yeah.
And then the play-in tournament, I'm going to count the Kings out just for now, but you still have Sabonis and Fox. But again, missing Malik Monk for the rest of the season, that really hurts them. They're going to have to rely more on their bench ever more. You figured the Lakers would take that. And then you just wonder about the Pelicans. If somehow they can dethrone the Suns and get into that 6th spot, I think that's a awesome thing to do for their confidence in their future. Despite not winning a first round series, I think that'd be amazing if they were able to avoid the play-in. Because remember, Zion not playing really at the beginning of the year. Then he went on and had a great season. I know he had a thumb injury recently. And, hopefully he can work through that and not bang it as much, I guess. But, the play-in looks awesome. You got the Lakers, the Warriors. Yep. And those two will probably come out of there, I would guess, like what the league wants. Yeah. The Lakers and Warriors. We want to see... Go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say, I'm just looking at the playoff bracket right now, at the playoffs end of today. Like you said, the play-in. Like I said, I'll get it to you actually after. I'll let you know after the fact because I know you're in conversation about something. So,
Oh, just about the Warriors. When you really think about it, Ben, this is probably the last time we're gonna have Klay Thompson and possibly Draymond Green together with Curry. It's just it's a
Yeah.
possible thing, and it's just unbelievable to think. But eventually, something has to happen. Someone has to go. You know, um, and when you think about it, they were trying to replace Draymond so many years. Remember, they had Jordan Bell, and he was a flop. James Wiseman, and he was a flop. And now they have Kaminga, which has really stepped up, along with Pinnicher. I can't remember that dude's name.
Oh
Coming off
yeah.
the bench, I know he's been starting games over Klay Thompson. They
Brand.
haven't
Oh,
really.
um, yeah. Give me a sec. I exactly know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's just funny though
Brzezinski or
with the
something?
Warriors. Huh?
Is it like Brzezinski or something?
Yeah, Kaczynski, I'm sorry, that's his name. So they
Yeah.
started him over Clay, and they've been flowing a little better, despite Wiggins being on and off the team. Um, so you don't expect them to go far, but at least just make the playoffs. It'd be good. But that story is like for the off season for them. You don't really expect them to get to the finals again, but you at least want them to win a playoff series to go out together right. You figure Curry is untouchable, but like everyone else, other from Curry and Kaminga possibly, everyone else might be gone. And it's just weird with the Warriors. Eventually things end. Like with that with the Patriots. Eventually everybody goes. And it takes years for it to happen, but eventually
Hmm.
dynasties go away. So I'll be looking forward mostly to that story with the Warriors, far more than anybody else, just because of Draymond Green's antics. Will it hurt him in the playoffs? Will he do something stupid again, where they really need him the most? So I'm really looking forward to the Warriors and how they'll do in the play-in, and then if they make it to the playoffs. The East, look, it's really simple, Ben. For me, it's the Celtics to lose. I mean, they have to win this conference. There's no. I mean, I just sent a picture to Isaiah today, and it said, "Milwaukee Bucks say thank you to Doc Rivers for his service." It's like one of those, end of season firings or whatever.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
already putting that out there for Doc Rivers. They're 15 games behind first place Boston. You don't trust anybody else to go against Boston. And the way they score so efficiently, Boston is just
Mm.
amazing in that sense. I mean, they're going to get probably 65 wins, maybe 64.
There's
But
62. I mean,
right,
it depends specifically in terms of they play guys, but like they like
that's
even
what they play
lately,
for.
like the last couple of games, they like have they even funny enough. So they had a game against the Kings on Friday, right?
Hmm.
And they were up by like 14 points or whatever with like 4 minutes left. And Missoula, like ever since we clinched, like he's just kind of like almost like messed around, but kind of like pull like different situations that for a fact probably won't work in the playoffs. But he's trying it out, just trying to see in terms of how it does it. And obviously the Kings are still kind of playing for playoff stuff. So the Kings had starters when the Celtics had like their bench guys with like 4 minutes left, and the
That happens.
Kings starters obviously came back, and Tillman off the bench, obviously was one of our main guys. Um, he had a go ahead basket with like 3 seconds left. And I'm like, oh crap, like Dogs can win it. And Fox had a chance to win at the end and he didn't get it. So even like games that they're trying to lose for the games that don't even matter, bro. Like, it's just so
you
it's
know,
just crazy.
when they made
So
that move, Tillman, I thought, what, that's going to be really important off the bench. His rebounding,
yep.
his defense. When they made that move, I was like, man, that's really a under the radar move that might spring them, over other teams. Let's say they need some, defensive presence against Embiid or another
Mm-hmm.
big.
Yep.
Might be able to do that if Porzingis gets in foul trouble or whomever gets in foul trouble. he's gonna need to be the guy. So when they made that move, I loved it. So it's got to be Boston to go to the finals, and then the West, it's like Denver or the field. And right now, I don't know, maybe Denver, but it's going to be a fun. I just want to get to the play-in, and then I want to get to of course, the regular playoffs.
Yeah. Really quickly before we get into final thoughts. And obviously maybe quickly something else really quick beforehand, but probably go to final thoughts after this. Just the playoff picture, James. And I know you're obviously talking about it. So if the NBA playoffs started today, right? And obviously, like I said, things can obviously change. That there's still obviously some teams to kind of fill around, but the plan right now, the 9 versus 10 in the West would be Lakers Warriors. The winner of that game specifically, right, would face. Hold on. The loser. I'm very confused actually. So actually, let me just get through over all the teams that kind of the playoffs end today, just the matchups. So 9 versus 10 would be Lakers Warriors, and then obviously you got Pelicans at the 7 against the Kings, 7-8 there, and then obviously the Timberwolves have a bye. The Clippers, James, right now would be facing the Mavs. The playoffs end today. I don't know how do you feel about that, but that would be that.
It would be
the World
tough.
Series. Yeah, it would be tough. OKC against the Phoenix would be, if the playoffs end today, that would be the first. That would be in that matchup. 3 for 6. That'd be fun. And then the Nuggets of the 2 seed, they would face the winner. It looks like of the Pelicans and the Kings game. It looks like there.
Wow.
Yeah. So obviously, like I said, things could change about that. And the East, of course, the Boston Celtics are the 1 seed. Right now, they'd be facing, looks like, the winner of the Hawks and Bulls. So,
Yikes.
yeah. I feel pretty good about that. I mean, I guess the Hawks obviously, for some odd reason, they've been getting us fits like the last couple games, but I'm taking still them like 6 max.
Yep.
Then the Knicks and the Cavs. Now the Knicks and the Cavs have had their first playoff series the last couple of years. I would take the Knicks if that happened. Something about the Cavs, man, just in the playoffs. I don't know, that coaching staff too with Bickerstaff. I don't know how to feel about that. And then the Magic, give them credit. They would be facing the Pacers at the playoffs on today. 3 versus 6.
That'd be a good matchup.
They could give them a series. I mean, the Pacers aren't like this like world beater type team. I mean, they got some guys there, but the Magic maybe give them a series. And then those would be really cool to see. The Sixers Heat, right? The winner would be taken on the Bucks. The winner would be taken on the Bucks. So
that's fun.
That would be fun because now with Embiid back, right? Obviously the Sixers and the Heat, of course, are kind of battling right now in terms of the playing spot here and there. But yeah, that like Embiid against Giannis, kind of first round, whatever, that'd be kind of really peak cinema there. Or the Heat Bucks, right? Last year, of course, the Heat came into Milwaukee and they upset the Bucks. So that would be like a rematch. So either one of those games would be a lot of fun there. So that's that. But like I said, the last week of the regular season basketball is over with, right? So college basketball this week's over with. Basketball in the NBA is done this week. So theoretically, James, NBA basketball playoffs next week. That's pretty much where all the fun's going to be happening. Of course, I got hockey coming up soon. I know we don't talk hockey on this show. But, maybe I'll talk with here and Taylor coming up maybe a couple weeks or something. We'll talk some NHL playoffs coming up, which I'm really excited for. So
I do games, but I gotta learn the names.
Fair enough. All right. And then Isaiah had a comment here. He said, Bucks or Boston don't eliminate me in round 1. Well, right now, Isaiah, it would be the Bucks' problem, if anything. I don't think the Celtics would face Miami until like rounds 2 or 3, if that happens. So, listen, I'm prepared. They've been kind of our nemesis lately, but I'm obviously not focused on them right now until we get out of the first round, because that's kind of the way I look at it with this team. All right. So I got through pretty much all of the comments, James. I'll now go to you with final thoughts. Like I said, thank you guys all for joining Kicking with Kruse. In terms of our next shows, we'll probably have our next show later on this week. Like I said, I'm not sure specifically when, right? Obviously with our schedule and stuff like that, it's been very obviously busy with mine lately. So we'll try to kind of figure out some times later on in the week. Hopefully, by the time we come back, UConn will be national champs. If not, of course, they're in the national championship. They made it there. So, but I would love it if if they won the Natty. I'd be in a lot better of a mood. But I think going the home opener to the Red Sox, regardless, kind of damper it kind of would help specifically damper potentially my mood. But heck, I would love it. If UConn won today, right in the national championship, and then I go to the Red Sox home opener, and they won that. I mean, typically Mondays suck. I would love that Monday this week, and then of course the Red Sox. That they won that. May my week be awesome. So we'll see about that. Kind of start my week. But like I said, probably another show this week of Kicking with Kruse, probably later this week. And then next week, James, I'm considering doing a watch party for the NBA play-ins. So if that would be kind of the show itself. So if you and Isaiah kind of want to discuss potentially maybe some of the dates we maybe want to do, that's my consideration for that. So
just not the Chicago Atlanta game, please.
Yeah, I'd probably for the playing games. I do like the Lakers Warriors. Like I do like some games specifically, or like the Sixers and Heat. Like I'll do some like good games specific. I don't want to do any type of like crappy ass game unless you guys want it from me. But no, I want to put that over on misery on you guys. If that was the case, I'd just do a normal show with other topics. I'd rather just do that than to do that for sure. So. That's my final thoughts. Like I said, make sure you guys to follow us on MI6, I'm 6, all that fun stuff on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and of course follow me on Bankers144. That's it for me, at least for tonight. I'll kick it over to you, James, on your final thoughts.
I cannot wait for tomorrow. I always look forward to the Final Four national championship. It's always one of the best spectacles in sports, I think. Just think about it. They put a basketball game in a football stadium, and every seat is full. It's amazing to think the prices people
Although I do think about though, right? I see these people up in like the massive like balconies. I'm like,
yep.
They're in like the 35th row. I'm like, what are you even gonna see, right? I was fortunate enough when I went to see UConn play Northwestern, and obviously for I got on the day of game for that game. People were asking, of course, when I'm taking pictures, there's like, oh my God, like, you got March Madness, like how much were the tickets and stuff like that. And so I obviously had a little jealousy, I guess, there, which thankfully enough, UConn won that. So, I mean, the money was definitely worth it. But I got 210 for the third row in the balcony, and I saw everything. That's not even a bad buy, considering kind of this March Madness, obviously $200, obviously. It's a lot for a lot of people. But, I'm just like, I'm going to go on my own, enjoy myself. I got on TV, right? So I was kind of cool, right? So it was worth it, right? But I'm not right paying $100, $200. I'm gonna be sitting up in the nosebleeds in the Final Four, even though it'd be awesome to see like a Final Four atmosphere, right? But might as well sit in right in front of my TV on my house and watch it for free and have all the fun in the world. And if they even lose, right? And I'd rather see myself lose and go right to sleep after than be there and kind of pay my sorrows away, I guess. I don't know, but I'll let you go.
And then also I was just thinking about that, how they look like ants from like the 500, 600 sections. It's amazing to think again what people pay to see their team, their university go. So I can't wait for that. I just hope it's a good game. I hope that it's a close one. Overall, I think UConn will get the win. Yeah, again, for me, I'm just looking forward to going Wednesday to the Angels game against Baltimore. I always want to see Baltimore. I've seen them now 3 straight years. So I will for three straight years.
You're talking about this week because we faced Baltimore.
Yeah, this. Oh no! I'm sorry, Tampa Bay.
I guess I'm not going to be seeing the Orioles anymore this week.
No, my bad. I'm going to see Tampa Bay this Wednesday afternoon, and then in 2 Wednesdays I'll see Baltimore. And I make sure every year to go see Tampa and Baltimore, just because they're just always in the thick of things. and now they are.
Yeah.
And I threw Boston in there. That whole AL East is pretty fun.
Doing the whole tour.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll make the Yankee game. Usually that's like Yankee Stadium West out there.
Yeah. They try
I gotta say this. There was a lot of Red Sox fans there. It was pretty.
That's
it
good.
wasn't like it used to be, where we were both in the playoffs playing against each other a long time ago. But there was always, chants going back and forth, and I haven't really heard that in a while at these games against one another at Anaheim. So it was good to have that back. I just wish today was closer. It kind of ruined. Like I knew you guys would go two games over or win 2 out of the 3 against the Angels, but I just wanted a closer game than today. Luckily, I did not go.
I enjoyed it, but I don't know for your side. If I was the same side, trust me, if I had that feeling, it's not fun.
I would have left so early and went home because I wasn't ready for 2 games, walking around, entertaining people, talking to people. I was done. I wouldn't have gone today, but luckily I didn't. So I can't wait till Wednesday to see Tampa Bay and try to figure them out. Like you mentioned, they are just. I don't know what they are this year. They have their main players, you have players out, and just replacements with guys that are already gone. So I'm gonna look forward to seeing them or their B team maybe on Wednesday. But yeah, I'll keep in mind, whenever you have a show. Of course, you can find me on Halos and Field, covering the Angels, and we're gonna have an Around the League MLB show. So whatever you heard. Probably tonight you'll hear on that show from me if I remember. And I got to mention too the amount of starting pitchers or pitchers on that list that are out and for Tony Clark to the pitch clock. I don't know how much merit there is to that or scientifical reasons for that. But it's just the type of pitches that certain guys experiment with and they either come back to it or I don't know. I really want to know the cause of all these elbow and ECL injuries, elbow injuries. I really want to know and it just goes back to when I talk to other people about this where it's like, hey, there might be a what do you call it? There might be a freaking a stoppage in the off season where with the free agency stuff going wrong, now you have all these injuries. You have Nolan Shanuel's on base streak ended after it was the Orioles series where they changed a hit to an error, and his 3rd longest streak in the MLB history was over. And it just sucked for me when I saw that yesterday. A play that happened like a week ago, they worked on to screw Shanuel. I just really didn't like that. But MLB has so many problems, and this is just another one that they have to figure out. It's just, I think there's going to be a stoppage. And I don't know if there'll be a 2025 season right away. I think there's going to be some fighting. Yeah, I think it's going to be bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you had to go just for a little bit there during the show, I was saying, looking at the comments, I was saying that because as it was mentioned about like an opening day, and I said the only time I went to like kind of an opening day kind of was when. The season kind of got pushed back a little bit last year. Remember with the lockout that happened?
2022?
The last year. Like I think it was last year because I remember last year I saw the Angels in April. And they pushed back a little bit of that season because they just couldn't come to an agreement. And I'm just like, well, I paid for the tickets earlier. But I wasn't even thinking that the home opener was going to be the exact same way they pushed it all back. So I just got fortunate that way. This year it's just kind of scheduled where it's just pretty much just like scheduled like regular programming, right? So, but it was cool though. Like it was cool it was kind of like the home opener feel, right? The style of kind of like the introduction and stuff like that. But I think I think coming up on Tuesday is going to kind of more like opening day feel of old. You know, obviously they're going to be announcing some of their past year's teams, so the World Series teams, obviously the Wakefield
Cool.
stuff. You know, that's obviously going to be pretty emotional. So,
Yep.
I obviously will talk probably about that on our next show. By the time essentially our next show hits, I'll know about the Yukon, and I'll probably know about how I do at Fenway for the first time this year. So a lot of probably stories ahead. But without further ado, guys, like I said, thank you guys for joining Kicking with Kruse as always. Make sure to follow us on the MI6 on the MI6 Network on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Also, feel free to follow me on Bankers144. Like James mentioned, also make sure to follow him on Halos in the Infield, as well as Coast to Coast Network. He does a lot of stuff on there with a lot of his other co-hosts there that I know. So they obviously do a lot of great stuff over there. So make sure to follow him a lot on that stuff as well as Isaiah Leon, co-host with us. Thanks, Isaiah, as always, for coming on and obviously taking some of your night tonight, between work. Obviously, the great comments for tonight with Isaiah, Seth, all the guys. Thank you guys for all the comments as usual. Without further ado, thank you guys, like I said, for joining with Kruse. That'll end for our show for tonight. And without further ado, before we conclude, we'll give you guys the outro. And without further ado, we'll see you guys next time.
Oh, my God. The goal to go from the two. Toss sweep one for James White. Puts it under the right arm. Puts it upfield. Driving forward. Diving to the goal line. It's a touchdown. And a title for the Patriots. I can't believe it. Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. 45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Poppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.